Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the WRRAP podcast with me, Lee G. For those of you watching on YouTube, you will see there's a wide array of people on the screen this evening. Some new, some old, not old, but familiar faces. So I'm going to leave Jamie introduce everyone in a minute, but I've got to shoot off. So I'm just going to say a couple of words first of all. So Jamie is. James and Jamie is gonna confuse me, boys. So James is joining the pod to replace Carwyn as our Ospreys chappie, the Ospreys optimist, if you might want to call him that. So I just wanted to say a big thank you to Carwyn. So the story of WRRAP, when I started sending messages out to people, and I couldn't get anybody interested. I couldn't get anybody going. I had lots of people telling me this was going to be shit, and I had lots of people telling me stop wasting my fucking time and all of that kind of stuff. And Carwyn's an old mate who I've known since I was 8, 9, maybe 10 years old, something like that. And we played rugby together, and we went drinking together a bit too much, and we knew each other really well. So when I asked Carwyn to join, there wasn't a question about yes or no. He just absolutely straight in, and I think it just gave us the confidence to go on and to become what we've become now, which is a family of 6 pods, and all doing really well on different levels. We've had some fantastic guests, and we've had some really good times. We've had some really fun shows, and if it hadn't been for Carwyn just showing the confidence in me and in those early days, then none of that would have happened. It would have just died in the water on week two. So week 1 was me and Carwyn chatting about rugby. Week 2, Carwyn couldn't make it, so it was just me trying to chat about other stuff. Week 3, Reese joined us, and then it kind of took off from there, and then Jamie joined us a few weeks after. So I just want to say thank you to Carwyn for showing the positivity and the optimism, the blind optimism often.
Yes.
He's taken a lot of shit for his refusal to accept reality and all of that kind of stuff. But we love him for it. And so, big thank you to Carwyn from me. And I'm going to leave you guys to it now. I'm going to disappear, and I shall catch up with you next week, gents. Have a good one, guys.
Take care.
Thank you, Lee.
Yeah, thank you, Lee. And of course, thank you, Carwyn. So with me this week, different lineup. We've got Harley, as always. We've got James from the Ospreys Ivy podcast, and we've got Hugh from the Pirate Rugby podcast. Good evening, gents. How are we?
Good evening.
Yeah.
Good evening. I'm very well, thank you.
Excellent. Let's kick off then, as we always do, with Drink of the Week. So let's start with you then, Harley. What have you got for us this week? What are we drinking?
So I'm finishing off my batch of Cornish beers. So it's a little one called little golden ale called Shingle Bay from Salcombe Brewery. It's just a very nice standard ale. There's no real bells or whistles. As I'm sure people on the pod worked out, I've got a very different approach to ales to Jamie.
Nothing wrong with a standard ale. That's good stuff. So then, James, what have you got for us, mate?
Well, I've gone for a Martin Miller's gin fun size version that I got in a gift pack with some tonic and a beautiful Bridgend Rovens packable pint glass. So keeping it classy.
Very classy,
Keeping it region appropriate.
Have you at least put an ice and slice in there?
Well, seeing as it's from Bridgend, ice and slice would be a very different thing, I think, than what we're used to.
Say no more. Okay, then, Hugh, what have you got for your drink of the week?
So I've got something that when I got it, I messaged Lee and said, I've got to come on WRRAP because this has got to be a drink of the week. So it's called the pudding rum, right? So I got this. I was out in York and I was walking around in York and I was walking around the market and there was a rum stall. And I like a bit of rum. When I was on before, I had rum as my drink of the week. And I looked over to it and I thought, I can't, no, I haven't got 20, 30 quid to drop on a bottle of rum. But the woman behind the stall sees me see the rum. And she calls over to me,
Yeah.
would you like to try some? And I'm like, well played. You've got me there. Yeah,
Hooked you in.
you successfully got my money off me. Well done. So I went over,
Yeah.
and it's the pudding rum, and it is what it sounds like. It's rums that are flavored after puddings. So this one's the salted caramel. They had other flavors. Tried a couple. The flavor that I tried that was most interesting was jam donut flavor rum.
Ooh.
I swear it tasted exactly like jam donut. I couldn't believe it. I was skeptical, and then I said to her, I was like, yeah, that's a jam donut. It tastes exactly. It was that sickly sweet. It was probably the most interesting tasting, but I can tell you that after probably about 4 sips, you'd have been like, okay, I'm a little bit, maybe not you, Jamie, because you like that kind of thing, but I would have been like, no. The nicest one was actually the maple syrup one, but it tasted just like any other rum, really. Just tasted like a nice rum, whereas this one tasted like a weird rum. And the best thing about it is it's only 20%, which means you can drink twice as much of it.
Well, that's a session ale. You could drink that all day.
I have to say, when Hugh was there saying, "Oh, I don't know if I'd be willing to spend 30 quid on a bottle of rum," and I'm there trying to work out the total of some of those bottles behind me from various food shows. It's a different life down here in Devon.
Have any of you tried Richard Hibbard's rum? Because that's what I want to try. The
I thought it
Mortal
was
Bunny
tequila
range.
he did. I thought it was a tequila he made. He's
Alan
done a rum
Wynn
as well.
does rum as well, doesn't he?
Yes,
Alan
I
Jones
went
does.
to his establishment on Aberavon Seafront and tried it. It's very nice. If you like a sweet rum, my other half she's a dark rum drinker. So we're a bit at odds. I'm not the biggest rum drinker. I'm more of a gin man. So
Yeah.
James Haskell, I don't get on with you, and I think I'm blocked by you. But if you do want to send me a bottle of gin, please.
You should try Sam Davis's gin. Is it Tocavida, something like that? It's called.
Mm.
It's supposed to be very
that's-
nice.
I've heard it's really good. I need to try it.
Yeah, that's what we
So
have to try next.
So go on, and Jamie, what
Disappointed
have you
it
got?
wasn't called Nigel's son.
No. Right. Okay. So that's drink of the week done. Let's get straight into it, boys.
Hey,
I thought we start off. What?
You don't got one, Jake.
You haven't done your own.
Oh, sorry, I forgot my drink of the week. Yes. Apologies. Thank you, Harley. Right, I do have a drink of the week, and it's quite topical, actually. It's on point. I have got Castle Lager from South Africa. So in tribute to South Africa getting to the World Cup final, I've got South Africa's finest beer, Castle Lager. And look, I've had it many times before. It's a very, very nice drink. I can't buy it in the supermarkets here anyway. The only way I get this is when I go to London. So there's a South African shop called the Savannah, and they sell like biltong and South African foods and drinks, and that's the only place I can get it. But it's really, really nice. Have anyone tried this one, Castle Lager?
I haven't.
It's 5%, so it's not too strong, but it's better than your average Carling or your Madry anyway. Put it that way. So yeah,
I
that's
would
what I
have
got
thought
for
the
tonight.
only way you can get Castle Lager is getting man of the match in a Lions game.
Yes, that as well.
So, Jamie, is there a double life you're leading that you haven't told us about?
I wish. I really wish.
He is more
There was a game where if as man of the match you did get a load of beer, because in South Africa I think they give out some funny ones, like you get vouchers for weird stuff that you don't really want, like industrial stuff, and they have to stand there with the voucher at the side of the pitch and pose with the sponsor logo and be like, "Hey, I'm really happy with my hairdressing supplies for £1,000 or whatever it is."
Yeah, poor Brock Harris.
The legend Brock Harris, Dragons legend.
Yeah, sorry, Dragons
Brock Harris.
legend Brock Harris. I should have added.
And URC winner as well for the Stormers. As soon as he left the Dragons, he had instant success. I'm sure there's no coincidence there, but yeah, good old Brock. Right then, can we move on now? We can't we? Right. Let's talk about the Rugby World Cup just quickly then, before we get into the wreckage that was the Welsh Regions of the URC on the weekend. So on Friday night, we had the first semi-final. We had Argentina versus New Zealand. I don't know what you boys thought. I thought it was very underwhelming, very disappointing because it was just so one-sided. And, don't get me wrong, I didn't expect Argentina to win by any means, but I knew they had a few bad calls from the ref as well, but it was just painfully one-sided. Will Jordan scored a hat-trick, a 7-try New Zealand crushed Argentina 44-6 to reach a record 5th Rugby World Cup final. And then on the Saturday night, it was England-South Africa, a much different game, a much better game, I have to say. England fell agonisingly short of an upset and a 5th Rugby World Cup final as South Africa came back from 15-6 down to snatch victory in Paris. Owen Farrell's boot kept England in front until a late Handré Pollard penalty on 78 minutes gave the Springboks a narrow 16-15 win. Late Handré Pollard penalty. Where have I heard that before? That sounds crushingly familiar, doesn't it? So there we are. Then that was the semi-finals. So let's start off with you then, Harley. What was your take on the two semi-finals, and do you think we've got the two right sides in the World Cup final this weekend?
I mean, other than the fact that I predicted Ireland, France, yeah. I mean, of the 4 semi-finalists, it was the best 2 sides in there. I mean, I think if England had gotten in, it would have just been an absolute another shower of a World Cup final. As I think Sam Lana pointed out on Twitter this week, it's so annoying how one-sided the draw was, and we had no competitive games at all in the semi-final. I know, because 2019 there definitely weren't a load of blowouts in all the knockout games, apart from the 2 of the ones Wales were in.
But it was a brilliant semi-final, though, wasn't it, England, South Africa? Because I don't know about you boys, but I thought England had them. Because that was the first time I've seen Springboks, and there were a lot. James is shaking his head. They were under a lot of pressure. They were making a lot of mistakes. I honestly thought England were going to see it out, but fair play to them. It's the bomb squad.
My life flashed before my eyes when that drop goal went over. I was like, oh
yeah?
No. Can you imagine? Because I was watching it on ITV as well. It's like, no, please, no.
Yeah.
Fortunately, good triumphed over evil, and the Springboks who managed to get through. I don't know. I like to look at all the stats and things, and all of the rhetoric, and I think there's been a lot of chat about bigging up England after that game. I thought in the second half, South Africa absolutely dominated the game. Obviously the scrum, Oxenjay came on and inserted the England props heads up their own rectums for half an hour, and yeah, just England, they scored one long range drop goal on 53 minutes, and that was their only score of the second half. So, I posted a bit on the stats on Twitter, people saying, oh, England played to their strengths. Well, okay, they got destroyed in the scrum. The line-out was okay-ish, and they never looked like they were going to score a try. So if that's England at their best, then I don't think there's anything for the rest of us to worry about, to be honest.
Don't you think they deserve a bit more credit, though? Because they did have the Springboks rattled, didn't they? And it was, like I said, they were in front until 78 minutes. So do we think we're underplaying England a little bit?
When there's a big blowout and one team beats the other, and you go, "Oh, is that team that good, or is the opposition that bad?" And people normally say, "Oh, it was a bit of both." I think this was kind of the opposite. I think this was a bad team playing at its peak, and a really, really good team playing about as badly as it can play. The rain was a huge equalizer. The rain always is in any sport, takes away some level of the advantage. And I think England's game plan suited that, because England do not attack at all. Like, it's not in their game plan to attack and try to score tries. They are there to kick points. Whereas obviously the Boks, contrary to what some people might say, have quite a big, decent running game these days. Hence their 2 wingers that they pick. So yeah, but I always thought that, for all the talk about Brazzy emptying the bench early and making the changes early and things, the Boks had the tools to get themselves out of a hole. And from about 30 minutes onwards, they obviously outscored England on the scoreboard. And I think that whilst it was squeaky bum time, and you've seen all the clips of all the Bok fans on Twitter losing their minds and crying and things at full time. I think the better team won the game.
Manny Libbert being taken off after 30 minutes. By God, that was brutal. That was one hell of a call, wasn't it? So, James, you were shaking your head when I was saying about, South Africa there. So, even when England were 15-6 up, you still felt that South Africa, you were confident they were going to come back, were you?
Absolutely. Well, for a bit of context, I'd spent the entire day with a 40-odd-year-old South African bloke shouting in my ear in for 80 minutes of rugby. So my opinion might have been a bit skewed, but no, as soon as I saw that those teams come out and I saw who the props were for England on the bench in Genge and in Sinclair, I said, that's it, that's 3, 6, 9 points second half guaranteed. You could just write 9 on the scorecard before the match started, because there was no way that with Nche coming on, even if he kept Malherbe or whatever, that South Africa were going to give up penalties in that second half. And I stood there that first half thinking, fair play England. You come out with a point to prove. Freddie Stewart, I thought was excellent. He played the best game he has had for England I could think of. Same with George Martin, even though he's only played about 3 minutes of international rugby. I thought he was excellent. But then the second half happened, like Hugh said. As soon as he took Kamala and Cole off, it all went to toffee. I love Genge. I think he's a fantastic player. I think he's a great part of that sport, off the field and all that. But his scrummaging is becoming a problem for England now. You could probably get away with it at Premiership level, but for England, it's becoming a problem. And same with I've always maintained that Sinclair isn't the same player he was in since the 2019 World Cup.
No, I agree.
Doesn't have that dynamic running game anymore. He had beautiful hands in that World Cup. He was, he's pinging missed passes, beautiful late draws out the back. Don't see that anymore. But the issue is England don't have heads. They're like Wales in that regard. Who are you going to pick? Joe Hayes? I'm sorry. I watched Joe Hayes against the Ospreys last year, and he was being taken apart by Rhys Henry.
To be fair,
well, that happens to everybody.
Taken apart by Rhys Henry.
Okay, the still stands. England's scrum is a problem because Marla's not getting any younger. He's probably got 2 years left of international rugby, and Cole's not.
Well,
definitely
he's retired once already.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
So probably Marla. Yeah, Marla's probably off. Dan Cole is probably due a bus pass by now. So where and I was not in agreement when Tom Harrison got control for England because I wasn't all that convinced by Leicester's scrum. But play to England, like you said, they're on top 78 minutes. They might as well not have a pair of centres because they were anonymous. But yeah, fair play. As Josh Gardner pointed out on, I think it was the my page today, Owen Farrell got sent back 10 metres for not giving the ball back. And that resulted in 3 points.
Again.
They lost by 1 point.
Again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a game of small margins at the end of the day. But in your reference to your original question, I do think the two right teams are in the final. I predicted at the start of the tournament to a friend that I said New Zealand are going to win it. Ireland are the other favourites, but it's New Zealand. Look, I really hope I'm right.
Okay.
I really hope I'm right.
Can I just quickly go back to the point you were saying about Lebot coming off? I mean, the whole point of Rassie setting up his 3 bench backs the way he did with de Klerk, Pollard and LaRue is he had that as an alternate game plan in case plan A doesn't work out. So he uses Lebot, Williamson and Reinach for a faster game open handling. It was clear by 30 minutes they weren't able to do that with the weather conditions and the way they're being hounded. So he brought on his game controller and decided to strangle the life out of them, which is what he was supposedly going to do. I don't believe it for 1 second. I think that was just for the documentary cameras. But you're saying before the Wales game in the 2019 World Cup, they were going to do an open, expansive game, and then they went, oh no, Wales want to take it to us, then right, we'll take it to them. And I think, I feel like the way the box is set up, they know that if they get taken off, it's an unemotional tactical thing. It's not necessarily because they've been bad. I don't think it helped that they got subbed after doing something really bad, but in camp, they're going to had arms put around him and said, "Don't worry, you're still going to start the final." It was just, this is why these guys are on the bench.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's exactly
that's,
it, isn't it?
Bringing this game,
Yeah, with
either
LeBoc.
killing the game off or dragging it, kicking and screaming. And it's a bit similar way to how Gatland used Bigger and Anscombe in 2019. He wanted the more attacking game to start off with, and then closing it out. And then, if at any point things go wrong, you could either leave it later if we were chasing tries, or earlier if he just wants to put a chokehold on the game.
Yeah, it's one of the most outdated. No, it's one of the most outdated cliches in rugby, isn't it? That you bring your exciting guy on towards the end of the game to run it in an open game, whereas in fact all the top teams, they bring a controller on in the last few minutes to keep it tight. And I think exactly what you said with LeBoc, he probably is going to start the final, because there's no world that you start with Pollard and then bring LeBoc on against the All Blacks. Because if you're chasing the game, trying to run rugby from your own 22 against the All Blacks, you're gonna find out very quickly where that gets you. You're going to get Italy. Yes, exactly. So I fully expect LeBoc to start the final and then Pollard be on the bench, or Pollard will start and LeBoc won't be in the 23 and he'll go 6-2.
Yeah. It'd be like when he removes the cover 10 or Willemse.
Yeah. I think 6-2 against New Zealand is the more likely option.
Yeah, well, shall wait and see. Just before we move on, just a couple of bits of news from the Rugby World Cup. So today, World Rugby have confirmed that they are formally reviewing an allegation made by Tom Curry about the use of discriminatory language during England's clash with South Africa. Tom Curry accused Bongi Manombi of calling him a white cunt during the semi-final defeat. So South Africa launched their internal investigation, and now World Rugby launch it is. So they need to get to the bottom of that, because that's a very, very serious allegation. So we'll see what comes of that. And other breaking news today, Wayne Barnes has been appointed as the referee for the Rugby World Cup for the first time in his career. And I say well done to him, because I'm a big Wayne Barnes fan, and I think that's very well deserved. Would you all agree with that?
Yeah, 100%.
That's not the main point from that game. It's who's on the touchline. It's our friend.
I don't know that.
Mr. Carl Dixon. Mr. Carl Dixon's on the touchline.
Dixon and Carly on the touchlines, and then Tom Foley on TMO, who actually I quite like as a TMO. I hated him when he was in the middle during the Premiership, but he's actually a really good TMO. A bit of a Ben Whitehouse effect. I know he's Marmite, but I quite like Ben Whitehouse as a TMO. I think when he's got the time in the box, they're a bit better. When they're in the middle, actually baffled.
Yeah, it shouldn't hurt too much. It shouldn't hurt too much, Carl being on the touchline, because all you have to do if you're running a touchline is go, best check with the TMO. Best check with the TMO. That's all you have to say.
It's just hope Wayne Barnes actually stretches his calves out and not doing it.
Hopefully they go for Tom. Hopefully they bring Matt Carley in over.
I don't know if that's better.
I don't know. I'd quite like to see a World Cup final ref purely out of spite.
Yeah.
Where's Luke Pearce? What happened to Luke Pearce?
This is my next question.
He went, I want the final, or you can fuck off.
Right, why is Luke Pearce not being given anything?
I agree. He's a great ref. I don't think he's had any involvement, did he, in the later stages?
Not since the quarterfinals.
Since quarterfinal, yeah. Poor that. I really rate Luke Pearce.
Do you think it's because it's Wayne Barnes' last dance and it's a bit of a Nigel moment?
Maybe.
And they think Luke Pearce is going to be here for the next World Cup.
That's a good point. Yeah, could be. Yeah, I think I'd be quite
happy if most of the people doing the latter stages are all being retired after this.
Luke Berry's doing the bronze final.
The bronze final. Who cares about the bloody bronze final? Nobody cares, do they?
We didn't care.
Argentina do. That should be named the Argentina final. They're the only team that I think ever cared about that final.
God, do you remember that round one game on that Sunday night, 8:00 Sunday night, between Argentina and England? No one after that game said, "God, I hope they play each other again. Can't wait to see them play again."
It's going to be a turd fest, isn't it? It's not going to be worth watching.
Yeah. Luke Pearce, my theory on Luke Pearce is that every game he refs is amazing. And of course, World Rugby trying to make sure that no one watches rugby have gone, well, you can't allow him to referee any games. People might enjoy rugby.
Speaking of World Rugby not wanting anyone to watch the World Cup, I saw the highlights. I got hold of the highlights for the Scarlets game, which is on the Sunday, before I saw any trace of highlights for the Friday night semi-final.
Right. Okay.
And that was what's going on here?
But that leads us nicely now, isn't it? So let's talk URC equals best league, depending on who you speak to. It was I don't know if you guys knew this, it was the 20th anniversary of regional rugby on the weekend. And yeah, what a way to commemorate it. Okay,
I couldn't think of a more WRU way to celebrate 20 years of regional rugby than
it's quite fitted in some ways, isn't it? It was quite fitted in some ways. Okay, so look, let's start with Connacht versus the Ospreys. So Connacht winning 34-26. Connacht withstood a second half fight back from the Ospreys as they finished 34-26 wins in Galway. Ospreys were 27-5 down at half time, but Keelan Giles, Ruben Morgan-Williams, James Ratty, and Rhys Davis crossed to ensure Ospreys came away with a bonus point. So, look, James, it was a tough first half. It was always going to be a tough game, but Ospreys came away with something. So, I mean, there are some signs of positivity there for this game, isn't there?
Very classic game of two halves. This the old cliche. I didn't manage to didn't see the game live because I was playing myself, but I came off and looked at my phone. We were 27-0 down. So I text our friend and yours, Yestin, and said Ospreys are back. Normal service has resumed. But no, we looked, having watched the game back, we looked just rusty in that first half. Really, really rusty. Falling off tackles. Midfield looked a bit rusty in terms of defence, in terms of having worked together that much. Scrum was really, really big in the first half. It's not something you say about Toby Booth back. The scrum was going backwards. But more credit to Ospreys. They came out second half. 38 minutes. They go good. The lovely try they had. Really, really nice feet. Really nice draw and give from Max Nagy. Giles with some lovely footwork and skins. The winger and the fullback. Yeah, I think Jack Walsh coming on in that second half made a really, really big difference. If you want to go back to the Marnie Libber Pollard debate, I've said since the start, Jack Walsh is the Ospreys' best 10 for going forward. If we want to score tries, Jack Walsh is the man you put at 10. He takes the ball to the line. He has a lovely range of passing on him. Kicking out of hand, he's really, really good. And his goal kicking is improving, right? I know that's been a big point of contention around Jack Walsh, is his goal kicking, but his goal kicking was great. He kicked 4 from 4 against Cardiff in pre-season. His goals against Connacht. Then you bring Owen Williams on, 15 minutes to go, kick penalties. So yeah, I just think Toby Booth got his selection a bit wrong. But his hand was forced in terms of selection. We've lost first 2 loose heads in Gareth Thomas and Nicky Smith. And look, I think Garen Phillips is a cracking young player, but clearly hasn't had that exposure at the scrum yet. The world's most attractive man came on, shored up the scrum, playing on the opposite side, may I add, to his normal position. So yeah, Rhys Henry came on, he carried the ball well. He has that Sinclair 18 thing about him. Takes the ball right to the line, has got a lovely pass on him. Really good going forward. The man of the match, player of the match for me though, Max Nagy at fullback. What a performance he had! He was brilliant under the high ball. He runs at soft shoulders, which I love for a fullback. Beats the first man every time. Makes line breaks. His kicking is great, and his hands to put Jack Walsh into space for Ruben Morgan-Williams try was excellent. I'm not too worried after seeing the game. I was a bit apprehensive. The first half's going to be all fun. The second half's going to be we just score some pushover tries. But no, we actually played some really, really good rugby. Going forward in that, going forward, Harley's got his hand up, so I'm going to Harley told.
I just wanted to add, and it pains me to ever compliment the Ospreys, but I think the one thing, and it's probably for me the big difference of all the 4 games, the Ospreys look like they improved in the second half, and they look like it looked like they've blown the cobwebs out and get improved, and that's actually something quite encouraging, at least as far as me. And I have to say, the one thing I did see watching the game was I didn't expect Jack Walsh to be the short ice in his veins goal kicker and Owen Williams to be a bit wobbly off the tee. But
Owen Williams doesn't look fit. Like, he doesn't look 100% for me.
Yeah.
He was very much a bit like the Johnny Sexton in that game against New Zealand, where didn't do a lot of running, took the ball, passed it straight away. Jack Walsh in pre-season looked fantastic, especially that game against Cardiff.
Yeah, I agree there. I thought he was brilliant there, that game.
And then come on the second half again, he's running great lines. He's making some huge hits. I don't know where he's. I don't know. Clearly, him and Mark Jones have been locked in a room together, I think, over the summer.
I heard he spent a weekend with Jared Evans, who taught him everything he knows.
Jared Evans did. Jared Evans
They
did
sat
get
and they
yellow
looked at
carded.
a poster of Sam Costello for 24 hours, and they thought, yeah, we can be like him if we try.
Costello did get 3 yellow cards last season. I would just like to add 2 for the jury.
Hey, for the Scarlets, that's good. That's positively that makes him our most disciplined player.
But no, yeah, who would have said at the start of this season that Jack Walsh would be ice in the veins? 10. I think he's our 10 going forward, personally. I think you start him. Go on, Hugh.
Can I say, I'm a little bit surprised at how positive Ospreys fans are being about this, because if you look at that team sheet on paper, it's still like you got Owen Williams, who is, as we sit here today, Wales' second choice 10.
Mm-hmm.
You've got like Keelan Giles, Luke Morgan have been around for donkey's years. You got Justin Tipperick in there. You got Rhys Davis in there, which people were saying should have been in the Wales World Cup squad. You got Morgan Morris, who everyone was raving about as well. For me, for that team, that 23 or that 15, to be 27 points down in the first half and just to completely not turn up, really. And especially, when you look at the fixtures the Ospreys have got, your next 5 games after this are very winnable. So this was like a big, if we win this, we start the season off right, and then we can build some real momentum. And, for Connacht are obviously a really good team. And I say this, there are no easy games in the URC anymore. But nope. Connacht are the weakest Irish region, and you've gone over there and they've put 27 points on you in the first half an hour. Like, you got to be giving the team a bit of stick, surely. You got to be not happy with that.
That's the thing that when I watched it, I was like, this is soft. And a good bit of Scrum 5 this week was Sean Hawley's analysis on Ospreys off first phase of set piece. That's where we're our weakest, and that's where Connacht struck. I think clearly Mark Jones has got a defensive set to play, but it just hasn't come to fruition yet. I still think Luke Morgan shouldn't have started. He's our weakest wing defender. He's really wooden. But the other option is Matt Prothero, who then isn't much better defensively. But I think when Dom Morris came on, I think you could easily move him to wing and he'd be a much better defender. The Ospreys historically last season built everything off winning set piece penalties. We couldn't get that in the first half because we were just being pushed back in the scrum, penalties against us. We were mercifully we kept our penalties in the single figures, which is good for the Ospreys. And Luke Morgan didn't get a yellow card, which again is also good. The reason I think I'm being optimistic is we shipped 105 points in Ireland last season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yes, you can look at it as we were 27-0 down at 38 minutes, but we finished that game 34-26, and we were 1 conversion off coming away with 2 points. Yeah, you can say that team should have done better, and they should have. We should have scored much more in the first half. We had much more ball in meaningful areas, and we just didn't do anything with it. There's no point in me sitting here and slagging them out. and we go into next week doing the same thing. I'm just going to take the positives from that game because I'm going into this season with a new mindset. We are the best team in the world. You know, we definitely didn't lose to
Can't beat the
Connacht.
weakest Irish team.
Yeah, who can't beat the weak side. But Connacht, you know, they only lost 3 players to the Ireland squad. Yes, they're 3 big players. Beelum, Enke and Hansen, who was, by the way, magnificently down in pints in the crowd. I don't know if you saw the clip of that.
I did,
Just
yeah.
gulling beers in the crowd. But they've got a very settled squad. And they are very well coached. Peter Wilkins has been there, been Andy Friend's #2 for years, and has come into that head coach role, and he knows our squad. They've got a very, very settled squad. And Joe
They're a good team.
Joyce, yeah, Joe Joyce, who came in from Bristol, a bit of a journeyman, you know, in Bristol for all these years, never really set the world on fire. He was fantastic. He was so, so good. And that first half, especially, we just couldn't cope with that confrontation and physicality. But I think we matched that in the second half. Our bench made that difference.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. And look, you know, he was saying about Connacht being the weakest Irish team. They are, but they're a bloody good team. You know, they are a very good team. And I think Ospreys can come out to this weekend with more positivity than the other regions because, as Harley mentioned earlier, they had the best second half out of all the Welsh teams this weekend. And like I said, 27-5 half time, that could have got very, very ugly. But credit to Ospreys, they fought back. And you come away with it with something, with a bonus point. You know, if you don't come away with anything, we'll talk about the Scarlets later, but when you on the road and you suffer a tough loss, you come away with nothing, that's demoralising. But if you come away with something, whether it's a try bonus point or a losing bonus point, it's something, isn't it? You know, and they add up over the course of the season. So, you know, I do think Ospreys deserve some credit. And I think there are some green shoots there. So that was the Ospreys then. Oh, let's talk about the Dragons then. Well, I got my Dragons pod tomorrow, so I'll probably go into a bit more detail on there. But so I was at Ronnie Parade for this one. It was Dragons 17, Edinburgh 22. New season, familiar feeling for the Dragons as they suffered 22-17 loss at Ronnie Parade. So that result means the Dragons haven't won at Ronnie Parade for over a year. And the last time they won an opening day fixture in the league was against Ulster back in 2013. So unsurprising, but pretty damning stats there regarding the Dragons. So the Dragons were 14-3 up at the break. I mean, you talk about game of 2 halves and that. I mean, this was classic, and Cardiff was as well. We'll talk about them later. But 14-3 up. Tries from Co Tompkinson and winger Corey Baldwin. Now, there was a second try disallowed for Co Tompkinson, and Dragons fans have been up in arms about this on social media and on the Facebook pages. I've watched the game back and I've looked at the replays. It definitely looks like Angus O'Brien knocked the ball on in the tackle. And I've watched it back several times. But the fans at the time of the stadium were going absolutely nuts. I've had arguments with people about it. I've watched it several times. To me, Angus knocks the ball on in that tackle. So I can see why he was disallowed. It did go to the TMO. I heard the referee say the TMO's checked it. It's a knock-on. So I've got no issue with that. So, yeah, first off, it was looking really good. We played some nice rugby. Edinburgh weren't really offering much, to be honest. You know, they were kicking quite a lot. Our defence was pretty good. But, I mean, the second half, that's when we lost our heads. And there was 2 reasons why we lost that game. And it came in the second half. So, first of all, Dragons didn't take their opportunities. We created a lot of opportunities, didn't take them. But there was another big moment in that match, which I thought proved to be quite costly. So, in the 52nd minute, Dragons were 17-6 up. Angus O'Brien kicks a brilliant 50-22. Then the penalty is conceded by Edinburgh, so we get a penalty. Now, I thought, as most people would, that they would kick the points because that would have taken it to 20 points to 6. Edinburgh, like I said, weren't really offering much in attack. They were kicking quite a lot. To my surprise, they kicked to the corner. And you're thinking, oh, right, okay, this is ambitious. And what happens? They fucked it because Edinburgh turned the ball over in the red zone. Now, I watched the game back on Premier Sports, and John Barkley asks Tom Shanklin on commentary. He says, was that the right decision, Shanks? Should they have gone for the 3 points? Tom Shanklin says, no, it was the right decision because they had Edinburgh under pressure. No, Tom, it wasn't the right decision. It wasn't the right decision at all. You've got to take the points when you're in that position. If you're chasing the game, it's different. But you've got to build a lead. You've got to keep your foot on the pedal. You've got to build a score. And that proved to be very costly, because I can tell you now, as soon as WRRAP scored that try, I turned to my dad and said, Dragons will lose this. And lo and behold, that's exactly what happened, because I've watched this team so many times over the years. I've seen this game so many times before, you know? And what happened was, particularly in the last 10 minutes, so Dragons were only 2 points down in the last 10 minutes. But then they start playing silly rugby. They panicked, you know. They're chucking the ball about, you know, to people's feet. It was going out of touch. It was attempting a miracle pass. It was just crazy. We panicked. And of course, we gave away so many penalties. Dave Flanagan said after the game, we gave away 20. So it wasn't 20 penalties, but I checked the URC stats. It was 17. You can't give away 17 penalties. That is absolutely insane. So unfortunately, Dragons lost their heads in the second half. And when I watched the game back, they did really good analysis after the game, John Barkley and Shanks and Ross Harris. And I quite liked John Barkley as a pundit. I don't know about you boys. I mean, he's a really good pundit. And he said that
really good.
He said, I'm not being funny when I say this, he said, but you can tell the Dragons are a team that don't win many games, because in our last 10 minutes, all they needed to do was keep calm. He said, but they panicked. And that's why they lost. And that's exactly right. We just shit the bed big time in those 10 minutes. All we needed to do was keep our heads. We needed leadership. We didn't get it. Now, I love Steph Hughes, but I'm assuming it was Steph Hughes who called to go to the corner because he was captain. As much as I love Steph Hughes, that was a very poor decision. That's not good captaincy. Sorry?
Were you on 3? Would that have been the bonus point then, or was it on 2 tries?
No, it was on 2 tries.
Okay. So I was going to say,
yeah.
It's ironic, isn't it, Jamie? Because you practiced your goal kicking in pre-season.
Well, this is what I was going to say. I actually got this in my notes. So the ironic thing is, when we played Ospreys, as James would know, we had a bit of stick because we weren't kicking to the corner. We took the points. And we spoke about it on the Dragons pod. I said, that's what we want to do. If I was a competitive match, that's what we would do. And we want to build to it and have it. And then when it actually came to making those decisions, we didn't take the points. We kicked to the corner. I mean, what I would say, mind, we did turn down kickable points in the first half, and it did result in a Corey Baldwin try, which, by the way, looked very unconvincing when he dotted it down. I don't know if you boys saw it. I thought he knocked it on. But it was very unconvincing, but he did put the ball down. But it was just poor game management, poor leadership. Like I said, I've seen this from the Dragons so many times. And it is a huge missed opportunity, because this league is a very, very tough league, and Dragons don't win many games of this. This was a winnable game. I should be sat here now talking about Dragons win. But we should be talking about 2 wins this weekend. We should be talking about Dragons and Cardiff. And I'm afraid they fucked it. And it was quite, it was quite demoralising at the end. I mean, Dave Flanagan, I watched the interview back when I got home. He looked gutted. He looked genuinely gutted by it. And they got picked themselves up. No, to be fair, Dave's not like that. He's always happy. Dave is always happy. He's always got a smile on his face. He's one of the most positive people in Welsh rugby. But he did look genuinely upset after the final was. He did look gutted, because I think he knew what a massive blown opportunity that was. And it was, you know. They ended up with it for the taking. They didn't play particularly well, although I got to give credit to Ben Healy, mind, because he did pull the string superbly at 10. But we made it easy for him by giving away so many penalties. And we all saw Ben Healy when he played for Munster. You give him the chances, he's going to take them. He's a superb place kicker. And he was
sure he remembers that.
Brilliant. Yes.
Yeah.
That Scarlett's long range penalty, wasn't it? Yeah, you can't give him any figures. You know, he's such a good place kicker. But yeah, very, very disappointing. I got
Lee
to talk about
Halfpenny
this game
kicked
tomorrow.
9 penalties in that game.
Did he?
Yeah, it's a record for most points kicked in a game by a Scarlets player. Lee Halfpenny in that game that we lost to Munster with the last kick of the game.
I think he still has the Six Nations record for most penalties in a game as well.
I think that was against Scotland, I want to say, in the 2013 championship year, I'm pretty sure.
I remember that game vividly for other reasons, because Sam Warburton came back, was not captain, had probably one of his best ever games for Wales.
And everyone said he shouldn't be captain anymore, so he can be better at being a player.
Yeah, he also weirdly wore a scrum cap that game.
Yeah, that was weird, wasn't it?
You got off topic
Wears
now.
a scrum cap oddly, randomly, isn't it?
We're gonna-
Jamie, I have a
Jamie, we're
question for
reminiscing
you.
about when we were good, when things were going well.
Jamie, I have a question for you.
Go on then.
You know, you've clearly spent millions of pounds bringing Kai Evans in. Why'd you take him off? Why'd you take him off for 66 minutes? He can kick
Because he had a
goals.
knock.
He had a knock. Right, okay.
He had a head knock, and he won't be available for Cardiff this weekend. That's the only reason he come off. So
right,
yeah,
okay. That
it
was
wasn't tactical.
because
Also,
I saw that Will Reed coming on for Kai Evans at 66 minutes is not a sub I would have made in that game.
No, and that was part of the problem. So Will Reed, as much as I love Will Reed, and a lot of people are saying about him being in the Wales squad now because, you know, they're covered his beer at 10, isn't it, with the loss of Priestland and Bigger. He came on, and it was how not to control a game. I was talking about the miracle pass earlier. He was just flinging wayward passes. There was one pass he threw, and it went miles forward straight into touch. Will Reed's a very exciting talent, but what we needed, I tell you the player we needed, he's gone now, he's with Connacht. We needed like a JJ Hanrahan figure. We needed some experience to come on the pitch and just, you know, settle it down and to play a territorial kicking game. But what we were doing in the last 10 minutes, and like I said, we were only 2 points behind. We were running it from our 22, flinging the ball here and there everywhere. It was like pre-season, like, no, lads, this is not how, this is not how you're going to win a game. And it was really disappointing. But what I was going to ask is, did any of you see anything in this game? Any other thoughts on it? Did you catch any of it, Harley?
Sorry, Harley, just really quickly, I just want to ask Jamie, were you surprised to see Angus O'Brien starting at 10? Because when he was at the Scarlets, I always felt a bit nervous when he was the 10, because I always feel that his position is fullback.
Okay, so the answer is no, I'm not surprised for two reasons. So first of all, Dave Flanagan said before the season started that Angus was going to be our starting 10. And secondly, if you look back to last season, he started against Ulster away and did very well. He was also the 10 when we played Scarlets and we beat them at Judgment Day. And I thought he had two really good games at 10. So no, I'm not surprised. And he doesn't make me nervous at 10. Will Reed makes me nervous at 10 because of his inexperience. He's a very talented young man, but he will make mistakes because of his age, and we saw it last week. So I'd much rather have Angus at 10 with Will Reed on the bench. But it'd be interesting to see what happens now against Cardiff, because obviously Kai Evans won't be available. Will they put Angus at full back and start Will Reed? Or do you keep Angus at 10 and start someone like Jordan Williams, which is what I suspect they'll do. But so sorry, Ali, was you going to say something about this game?
I was just going to say it's a bit of a running theme in Welsh rugby over the last few weeks of a team basically dominating in the first half, and then it all sort of going, not necessarily capitalising on the dominance, and then we bring on some inexperienced players, and it all goes tits up, and we lose narrowly.
Okay, so speaking of that, should we move on to Cardiff?
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to talk about this.
I have some thoughts about this game.
Oh, to lose narrowly.
Hold your powder.
Those are the days.
Hold your powder now.
I'm guessing with Kai Evans going, and anyone who's been called up to play for the Wales utility match is going to be unavailable next weekend then. So which is annoying because two of the highlights for Cardiff are going to be unavailable for the Dragons, it sounds like. So I said, for me, so I think the first half, the scrum and maul went really well. I almost thought I was watching the Ospreys. I mean, the Ospreys are already wearing a Cardiff Blues cast off for training with that weird blue and black number. But it's...
You wish it was Cardiff Blues. They had a heritage.
Oh, God.
A
double European Cup winner. Damn right I wish we were the Blues again. You say Cardiff Blues never lost to Benetton. I think we were Cardiff Rugby that season. It was one of those reasons. This is one where actually I disagree with Jamie about always kicking the points in these matches, because it was towards the end of the second half, and we picked to go at points, which was missed. But our driving maul was sending it. They were on a final warning. We could have started the second half up against 14 men, and we kicked the points. It was missed. Gets kicked out, and you're just thinking, why? Our driving maul is actually a weapon, and the line-out is working. Let's make the most of this whilst it happens, because it's not going to be all season we've got this. We're not going to have 100% line-out all season. It'll be down to 60 next game, guaranteed. So, there were some players who I thought played really well. I know James's favourite loose-head prop, Reece Carrier. I thought he was back to his Bulletin best. Kieran Azarati, Teddy Williams looked like they really benefited from being in the Wales camp. I think they've... I feel like their game has stepped up since last season. Shane Lewis-Hughes is actually playing really well in the second row, and I thought he did quite well against Ospreys and Scarlets as well. Tinius the Beer was a bit hot and cold for me. I feel like the bits he did really well were great, and then the getting timed out for the kick and missing the penalty. I think those 5 points would have got us through the cushion. But
would you say
the elephant in the room is huh?
Would you say the beer was flat?
The beer was flat, yes. Well done, nailed them.
Number
I can't wait for all
of
these
the
beer
season,
jokes
there's going to be more
all
of that.
season now. But I think the biggest issue in the second half was we just basically seemed to everything we did well in the first half. We basically went, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to kick like we've got them in blocks on our feet, and we're just going to let them through any old half gap. And then, what on earth was Kieran Parker thinking when he went in for that tackle? Everyone thought it was a really quick dominant hit, and then I literally saw it in one hit. Literally, the first replay, and you just went, "That's a red." And then the faff with the TMO. Jesus Christ! Like the investors, never mind everyone saying we want to sign Khaleesi and all these other big names. Can we have a stadium that works first? Let's get the stadium working and then worry about who we've got playing in it. Because Jesus Christ, power cut in the first half before the first half even kicks off, and then the kicker can't see the shot clock, so he times out. The TMO, it doesn't go on the TMO screen, and Frank Murphy's saying, hang on, but I can see it playing in the clubhouse by there, so there's something wrong with this screen, or you're trying not to show it. Oh, it's baffling. It was nice to see Halaholo back, who wasn't 100%, but it was nice to see him back. And, him and Lilo looked like two players who haven't had a proper game in a while. But it was nice to see both of them back.
Did you see Liam Belcher's comments after the game about Kieran Parker's challenge? He just come out and said, he was like, oh, he's not that kind of guy. There was no intent. I'm like, mate, it doesn't fucking matter. Intent is irrelevant.
Kiss is telling them all to tackle like that. That's why they had so many red cards last season. They're bankrupt from paying for tackle school.
I don't want to pile in on the kid because I know it was his first ever game, but that's one of the worst tackles I've ever seen.
It was bad. It was horrendous.
First of all, I know he's a kid relatively. I mean, at least for me and Jamie, I don't know how old you two are actually, but he's 28 and he's been around the block. Part of the reason they've brought him in is because of all these different. He's been part of the Munster and Leinster setups. He's been 3 English clubs. He was brought in because he was a sort of a fringe player. And the idea was he was going to be there to back up Azarati and Will Davis-King and to help bring through Litterick, who is the actual young kid from Quins.
Okay, I thought he was a kid.
He basically seems to have taken Dylan Lewis's role of coming off the bench and doing something monumentally thick.
Okay, I'm less sorry for piling on him. It's one of the worst tackles I've ever seen. If Owen Farrell did that, there would literally be people in the street with pitchforks going for him. I can't. What went through his head? It's not even like modern woke rugby red card. It's like a red card back in the day red card.
It's like a 1980s Samoan special.
Yeah.
I have a friend who's a police officer who's a very staunch Bristol fan who texted me, just seen the Cardiff red card, have arrested people for less.
Yeah.
That is the best way to. And every time I looked at it, I'm like, what in God's name possessed you to do that?
Yeah.
All he had to do was just bend his hip slightly and he would have made a beautiful dominant tackle.
I mean, and he's a prop, he should be used to bending at the hip. That's part of their job. And then even then he didn't do that bit very well.
Can I just talk about Cardiff at the minute? I'm looking at the stats, and I know Rugby Pass stats aren't the most accurate, right? And you might be able to. We'll probably shout to me for using them.
They're free. No, I use them a lot because finding decent stats. A lot of people eulogize about ESPN Scrum, but I don't. I find Rugby Pass ones to be better, honestly.
Yeah, I find it easier to access.
I'm looking at the Cardiff stats and thinking, this isn't Cardiff. 100% scrum win, 100% line-out win, 70-odd% of the match in the lead. It's baffling. Benetton conceded 14 penalties. Cardiff only conceded 9. How the fuck did you lose this? Genuinely.
Again, and it was literally the second half. We were pressuring that first half. And I do honestly think if we'd gone for the corner, not the points, we'd have won that game, because I think it would have that would have been the final straw for the ref, and you'd sent someone off. And then you've got your first half bonus point, and I think Benetton's heads would not have picked them. I mean, it does help Benetton, man. We brought off a load of Ospreys rejects off the bench.
Yeah.
And then the Irish rejects.
Ospreys rejects.
Actually, no, we didn't even bring it. We didn't even bring the Ospreys reject off. He stayed on the bench. But they brought on all their Italian internationals, and then you're just on an Argentinian international. And it was, and like you could just see the quality rise when they put their bench on, and you could see how much ours dropped. I mean, Lucas de la Rey is an incredibly talented kid. He is. He's talented. He's not the best. Like, yeah, but more so than 8. He's a solid 6, maybe a 7 at a push. Like, Alex Mann has been there. He's been in the environment. He's captained in the 20s. And he's been there around. Lucas de la Rey is only just sort of breaking through, and you could see that bit of a drop. And then in the second row, as much as I love 12-story Rory, when he came on for Teddy Williams, you saw a drop. And again, I think it's because Teddy's been in the Wales camp now. He's just kicked. He looked like he kicked on because he was just ferocious those first 50 or so minutes.
Whatever happened to Rory?
Rory Thornton. He was really.
He was like the second ever player signed on a dual contract after Sam Wolverton, wasn't he? Like he was supposed to be the next big thing.
So of course he had one on that. He had one, maybe 2 caps on that Samoa Tonga tour during the Lions.
Yeah.
And then he just never really came back into it.
Document Rory Thornton's life for you, because I sat in front of my old season ticket seats were in front of his parents, who, if they are listening, are lovely people, but are the most annoying people I sat at a rugby game. He had the really unfortunate role of breaking in at a time where we had second rows. Alan Jones was still mobile. Adam Beard was young and was uncoming. We just signed Bradley Davis back, and he was still good. And we had sort of others dotted around, but he just never kicked on. And he was just so 6 out of 10 every game.
Yeah.
And his parents would shout, "Come on, Rory," every 12 seconds. Like to the point where my grandfather, who's a very, very patient man, to turn around and say, "Will you please shut up?" Even on the pitch. It got that. But when we offloaded him to Cardiff, I was relieved, because he was just cumbersome. And my point about Cardiff is, I look at a lot of these, and I know you've got a really big injury problem in the back row at the minute. I'm very aware of that. I look at this Cardiff. I'm looking at the lineup for Saturday without the Welsh internationals. It doesn't inspire me. And I look at the other 3 regions, and I think there's a potential there. I really like the look of the Dragon squad this year. I hate the Scarlets, but I look at their squad and there is X factor there. Josh Turnbull was named club captain, isn't involved. I know he's injured. Who are the other leaders in that squad, really? Both centres.
Searches his own name on Twitter, Josh Turnbull. I found out today.
So does Dylan Lewis.
Does he?
Yeah, because I tweeted about him 2 days ago, and he's liked it.
I'm starting to think maybe the Twitter algorithms push some of those up a bit, but I always get it whenever I mention Kirby Moyhill in a tweet.
Yes.
Cardiff centres both have a combined age of about 320. I like Cam Winnett at fullback.
Yeah.
Cabango's great. Ellis Bevan, I thought, had a really good game.
I do feel like, though, it needed another player to come on and change it up in the half-backs, and I feel like Will Robson should have probably come on just to change something.
You know what, Cardiff
need
Harry Deeves, someone like that. Just a little ball of energy to come on, rucks, hit people, carry hard. Because who did you have coming on instead? You had De La Rua, who's really raw. It's his first season of pro rugby. Alex Mann is great, but Alex Mann does all the dog work. I watched him a lot at under-20s and spoken to people who were in that camp with him. Ellis Jenkins, he doesn't look mobile anymore.
Yeah, this is one of the things I think. Like it's one of those things where you could list off the names of the players we've got, and it sounds impressive. But like as soon as you're like, well, Tamani's injured, who was supposed to be that big battering ram that we could just throw at people 50 minutes or bring off the bench, and he's injured. Turnbull, he always gives you about an 8 out of 10 performance because he just refuses to accept less. Like how Scarlett's ever let him go is our boom because they've been screaming out for second rows they haven't imported.
Yeah.
And yeah, I agree. We need something. And Seb Davis isn't it. I thought he acquitted himself well at 8. But he's
I thought
not
it was
8,
weird. I thought it was weird. Seb Davis at 8 and Shane Lewis-Hughes in the row. I thought that was a bit odd.
Yeah, I don't know if it's something that Sherratt wants, and he wants Shane Lewis because he's picked him in the second row in both preseason games. It seems to be something he wants Shane Lewis-Hughes to do, and he wants to get him all that experience. I mean, Sherratt has said that. He basically said, and has met not in these words, but don't expect anything from us this season, next season, season after, because we've got to work out how to get the squad we're allowed together. And bear in mind, we're probably going to lose players like Adams and Falato. So the fact they're going to be away for this season because of World Cup and Six Nations might be a good thing. Because we've got to lose more from that. But
yeah,
I thought it was. I thought the first half and the scrum and the maul. I thought that's a foundation we haven't had. The problem is. I mean, we knew this was going to be the issue with Cardiff. We could probably put together a decent 15, but then 16 to 23 is going to be where we struggle.
Yeah,
I think sooner Grady comes back just to add some. I mean, I know he's not everyone's favourite cup of tea, but I think at regional level, at least he can give you some go forward.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about dragging shit the bed, the 14-3. I mean, a reminder that Cardiff were leading at one stage, 19-3, and they still lost, which is pretty shocking, especially at home. But yeah, okay, I feel like we've done a deep dive into Cardiff now, so I think we should move on. Bulls Scarlets. So, sorry afternoon for the Scarlets, wasn't it? They suffered a record league loss to the Bulls in Pretoria, losing 63-21. The bonus point for the Bulls was wrapped up in just 24 minutes. 9 tries to 3. Whilst into that, look at you smiling then, James. Well, you were smiling there. He can't help himself, can he? Don't be like that now. Don't be like that. Poor
Sorry.
For audio listeners, Jamie's reading off something off screen. He's prepared a little thing and he's reading it and he's got this big grin on his face.
Well, me?
Yeah,
no, James has.
No,
I
you're reading something. I can see.
If you look at the script that we've been sent by Lee, I mean, I was so tempted to read some of these comments, but read these questions out, but I'm not that mean.
You can laugh now, Jamie, because all these players are going to be playing for you in 10 years.
Listen, James was smiling. He caught my attention because I could see him smiling. I was not smiling, don't know. Maybe I did a little bit. Okay, so Welsh international team Plumtree, he scored twice on his debut after Johnny McNichol crossed. So there we are then, 63-21. Hugh, look, we always knew this was going to be tough for the Scarlets going out to South Africa. It's a very difficult place to go. Scarlets, of course, haven't got their internationals, although I still thought the lineup looked decent enough, but there was some inexperience in there. Can you take any positives from such a hammering like that? Like, what was your take on the game?
Mike Adamson robbed us. Terrible.
It's all the refs' fault then, is that right? Okay.
Yeah, no. Oh, dear. Well, look, what I really don't want to do with this, as you said, record defeats and all that. So I don't want to shrug my shoulders at this because there's no. You shouldn't be getting record score lines put on you and be going like, oh yeah, never mind. No, it wasn't good enough. And what really disappointed me is how surprised our players seem to be at how good the Bulls were. I think the Bulls are excellent, and I think they're my outside bet for winning the league this year.
Yeah,
and there's the whole altitude thing. I was speaking to Vuyo, one of my friends off the Scoop Pod, and I was asking him, when you go to play these guys, how long does it take for you to get used to playing at altitudes? And he said, I've played the Bulls loads of times and I never got used to it. So, and that's a guy who is South African, but that excuses losing. It doesn't excuse this. Like you said, bonus point in 24 minutes. I haven't bothered to look at the stats. It's not worth it. The stats don't.
That's not like you. Also, this is the one game where you don't want to look at the stats. That's the
I'm looking at the stats. Don't worry.
The only stat that's worth reading is 63-21.
With a bowl of popcorn going, oh.
It's yeah, like I said, we were. How long have we been in training now? How long was the training camp before this
13
season?
weeks.
Months. Yeah, there you go.
13 weeks.
And yeah, and we had the Barbars game, and then we had the 2 pre-season games, and then we turn out and it was like we were going, oh, we weren't expecting you to take it seriously, like that kind of thing. And there was some real alarm bell stuff. Like the first line out we had, attacking line out, goes in. Evans, the hooker, gets it, and he steps out from behind the ruck, and he stops and he looks around like this, and he's like, who's getting it? Who am I passing it to here? And I'm like, how is that going wrong? How have we not got what our first call is? You could see, and he just got smashed. He didn't go anywhere, and I think we lost the ball off the back of it. It was like, how do you not know what the call is? Like 13 weeks in training, did you not practice what the call was going to be? And then we had a break down the left-hand side after we'd scored a try, and we started, the offload game was kind of starting to work a little bit, maybe half the time, and we break down the left, and we get right up. I think it was Combeer did really well, got up to the 5-meter line. No one in front of him. He gets tackled. He goes to the ground, but there's no Bulls players around. Hardy gets to him, stops, and squats over him, waits for the Scarlets players to get. If he'd have picked it up and gone, he'd have just flopped over the line. But no, he just stops and waits. Hardy got a bit of stick on Twitter after the game of being poor, and people were crying out for Archie Hughes. And for a player that's supposed to be international quality, Hardy just, I don't know what he was doing. Like, he just kept stopping and waiting. I know we all say Gareth Davis's service that sometimes isn't the fastest, but Hardy made him look like he was Aaron Smith. Like the way he just, I don't know whether he was just waiting for the backline to get into shape, or he didn't know what kind of shape it was going to be because he'd been away with Wales. Yeah, I don't want to pick out, everybody didn't play very well, but Johnny McNichol dropped every single ball that went his way. He had a really poor game. And, we go back to what you were saying, James, about a bit of inspiration from the team sheet. That back three, Johnny McNichol, Ryan Combeer, Tom Rogers, is for me our first choice back three. In John Fox and Joe Roberts, it's at least 50% our first choice centres. And, I'm not going to complain about John Fox, even if he's not the player he was. Johan Lloyd is still learning his role as a 10. Kieran Hardy, no excuses for him. We had Ben Williams, who's a new kid at number 8. Dan Davis has been around for a few seasons now at 7. Plumtree is clearly a hell of a player, and he is going to, I think, get a lot of Wales caps. He got 2 tries this game. He's played in the Barbars game and he played against the Dragons, and he scored in both of those games as well. So for the time that he's not going to be banned or away with Wales, he's going to be a hell of a player for us, and he's clearly a cut above. But that's another one of the worrying things. Like, our best player on the day is the guy who spent about 2 weeks in Scarlet's camp, and all these other players who have been there looked clueless. And then, like I say, who else were we missing? Props, Matthias was there. Tight head is a problem position for us. Arguably, we've got young potential, but not established proper tight heads. Got Wyn Jones looking to cover it there. And then second row, Sam Lousy. I think it was Morgan Jones.
Alex Craig.
Alex Craig. Okay, that's another good example. Alex Craig, our new signing, a huge Scottish international. This is it. I'm not giving us any excuses. Yes, it's arguably the hardest away game in the URC, but it's not 60 points hard. And, someone asked me on Twitter, like, oh, would you Wales internationals made a difference? I'm thinking, well, Elias may have made the scrum a bit better. I don't think he'd have turned it on himself. We were going backwards at a rate of knots. Fafita probably would have made the biggest difference, but he's not even Welsh. He's Tongan. And you got
banned
Costello, and he's banned because he's a Scarlets player. And then you got Costello, who is probably, is better than Lloyd. And you got Johnny Williams, who is more athletic than John Fox at this stage, but probably not as good of a decision maker. And Gareth Davis would probably have been better than Hardy. But would that have changed the game? No. Like I said, there's no excuses from that team sheet. There's no excuses for not being prepared, because we clearly weren't prepared for what the game was going to be. And yeah, it's over. That's the positive.
You want some good news, Hugh?
Why do I feel like you're not going to give me?
You had a better scrum percentage than the Bulls. It was going backwards.
That's a positive.
Bulls only won 67% of their scrums, and
they only have 3 and lost 1.
Yes. I have a question about why you only play with 14 players, because Sam Wainwright does absolutely nothing on the pitch.
I don't rate Wainwright, I gotta be honest.
Hang on. Hang on. The next big Wales tight head, Sam Wainwright, who has replaced the last next big Wales tight head in Will Griff-John, who was also a stationary object and wasn't good enough to play for Llandudfri.
Can't get my head around what Sam Wainwright brings to a rugby team. I play front row at a very terrible level. I played in the Isle of Wight this weekend. That's how bad my rugby career is going.
Lee likes him. Lee likes Wainwright. I don't know, you have to ask him, but I remember when Scarlett signed him, he described it as, and I quote, a great signing. I was like, it's not really, is it? It was not a great signing. It was all right at the time, but it's not. I don't rate him at all. Sorry, Hugh, what are you going to say, mate?
So, Mart's Big M off the Scarlet Spot educated me that Sam Wainwright packs down with his back arch, which is apparently bad. I'm taking his word for it. I don't know anything about what it's like.
Well, the coaches haven't told him that, have they? No coach have ever said to him, don't scrum like that.
I've got no idea. I mean, it didn't work, did it? Yeah, I don't. That's a funny stat that we had a better percentage scrum than the Stormers, because we were in hard reverse.
Didn't feel like, even me watching it, I did not get that impression at all.
Yeah. The Dragons develop some of the best states in the world because their ability to get balls out of retreating scrums.
Yeah,
but going on about Scarlet's tight heads, I don't know how they seem to continually get it so wrong, because they keep persisting with Samson Lee, who is never fit for more than 30 minutes. Then they've got Harry O'Connor,
who's an NFT.
Like he might potentially be.
He's an NFT.
He doesn't exist.
You've got that. Then you signed Will Griff-John, who again, like, he struggled Welsh Premiership level in scrummaging. So he's already been come up once on the pod. Yes, they mentioned watching him on thing, and he just went backwards, and then eventually got folded in half. And now
did you not read those?
Now you've got Wyn Jones.
Did you not read Mark Orders says that Will Griff-John is the strongest man in the UK?
Yeah, but Mark Orders is an idiot.
Orders is a lovely
right.
swear.
Scrub him off the potential guests then. Oh well, never mind. But yeah, Will Griff-John is
fine. I can think of other former Wales and Line writers I'd rather have on.
Yeah, Will Griff-John is sat in an apartment somewhere in Paris right now, getting paid a bucket load to play for Paris.
Paying a bucket load to go backwards because they don't care.
He must be thinking,
small change.
God, it's a good job no one in Paris watches the Scarlets, isn't it?
You watch top 14, don't you? Yeah, but how's he been getting on? Has anybody seen him play for us? And is he holding his own in the top 14, or how's he getting on?
The last I only saw him come on.
He came on late on a couple of games, and I don't think it went very well. From memory, it was a couple of months ago.
Really, you surprised me.
Now. Yeah, his agent deserves a Victoria Cross or something.
Oh yeah, he absolutely does. Yeah.
If I remember rightly, because I think I might have watched the same game, because I'm sure I joked with you, Hugh, and I said, and it was like 78-30. Will Griff-John comes on 78-35. Scrum penalty. Will Griff-John smashed.
The
other one, I think, the one that I find really bizarre, because obviously Kieran Hardy's been out basically because he's been on Wales standby, had to go to France and then come back. I don't like. Surely it was obvious he was going to end up going back to Wales. I don't see why they bothered taking him to South Africa. Because if he's not going to play for both of them, I mean, if you've only taken 28 players and normally that you'd have 2 scrum halves and you'd probably have 3 sets of front rows. You've basically now got to pull a scrum half out your ass. I don't know why you won't bring it. I mean, I know you're struggling because you're already 2 in. The same issue as the Ospreys with loose heads. Because if Wales take 2 of your position, your first and second, you're almost in your academy. But it does seem bizarre they went for that.
Yeah, I don't know if
and same for Plumtree actually, because it was obvious they were going to get called up.
Yeah, I don't know if Ethan / Evan, depending on your opinion, Jones, wasn't available or anything, but obviously he was one of the best players in the Welsh Premiership last year, and he's behind Archie Hughes, which I don't think is that controversial because Archie is obviously one for the future.
I thought he was brilliant.
But
I did think he was brilliant for under 20, so I thought he was better than some. I mean, at least at that level, he looked.
yeah, I thought he really stood out. I thought he really stood out for Wales under 20s. But yeah, no, it's a good question. But you could say the same for Tame Plumtree as well. He's going to be off a lot of the time, and yeah,
Also,
I don't know.
reason your
I don't know
new,
what you guys want me
squad
to say.
captain
We
isn't
got
playing?
absolutely battered. What's that, mate?
I said, any reason why your new squad captain, who you'd think is playing most of the games, wasn't playing?
Can I shock you?
Was he injured?
He's injured. Yeah.
It's weird that.
He's also not the best flanker at the Scarlets. Dan Davis is miles better than him.
It's good. I like Dan Davis.
on
I'm
that
a
hill.
huge fan of Dan Davis. To be fair, I
I
thought he was a
like
bit
Dan
of a
Davis.
he was a bit of a just a flash player when he first came onto the scene, but he's really rounded out the hard work side of things.
We've got a
Very
very
good.
competitive back row. If the assumption is that Fafita's going to be playing back row and probably number 8 this year, then with Plumtree, McLeod, Fafita, and then you throw Dan Davis, you've got Ben Williams, the young kid going through, Tuipulotu, yeah.
That was the other surprise, was that Tuipulotu wasn't the one starting, because I thought the whole
I'm
idea
not
was that
surprised
when
at all.
he was coming on, I'll be honest, I think the Scarlets would be better off signing his sister and having her play 8.
That'd be cheating.
Whoa, she is unbelievable.
That would be cheating. That would be, you're not allowed to. She can only play for limited games because it's not fair on the opposition.
Before we move on,
Tuipulotu in your team.
I assume we all saw Will Owen's tweet about Scarlett's record loss, which was very funny, may I add. But I actually did want to look up Scarlett's record loss.
If you think you're gonna shock me with this, I already know.
It's the Ospreys, but my favourite part of the Sky article, how depressing the players who got sin bin for the Scarlets were. Martin Roberts and Sean Lamont. That's a depressing moment in history. You had Martin Roberts and Sean Lamont in the bin. But yeah, the other loss was, of course, 60 points to 17 against us in 2010. That was genuine research. I wasn't doing it to wind you up.
Of course, he wasn't. You won't really.
Well, it's all right, because we've got the Stormers next week in Cape Town.
Well, we're going to preview the games now. I think let's move on because I'm conscious of time. So before we do preview the weekend's games, I want to talk about Scrum 5 and get your guys' thoughts on this. So I didn't watch Fireplay coverage of both Scarlets. I watched it on, it was on BBC One, I think, or BBC Two. But it was Scrum 5's live coverage. And after the game, Gareth Rousseau, in a commentator, he said, it's a reality check for the Scarlets and a reality check for Welsh Rugby, right? Then I watched Scrum 5 later in the day, the highlight show. And Catherine Heller, the presenter, well, she said the same thing. She's asking the questions and she's saying, oh, is this a reality check for Welsh Rugby? And I just thought it was really strange that this narrative of this being a reality check. Now, surely we all saw this coming, didn't we? This can't be a reality check. And then you had Tom Shanklin and Sean Holly saying what a great opportunity this is to bring youngsters through, as if regions haven't been bringing any youngsters through. I just thought it was a really strange narrative from Scrum 5 to be saying it's a reality check when I think all of us saw it coming. So what did you guys make of that? The Scrum 5 sort of comments about, well, great opportunities to bring youngsters through, and all of a sudden this is such a reality check for Welsh Rugby. We saw this coming a mile off, didn't we?
If people are going to hop in, I mean, I'll hold my hands up. I didn't watch the whole problem. I watched that particular clip, and it was interesting that it was Tom Shanklin saying, "Oh, it's an interesting thing for young players." When last season he said there are no talented young Welsh players. Unless I start, I'm sure he'd be quite happy to start a Twitter war of words with him again, but I'm not going to go into that. I mean, yes, we knew this was going to be difficult. I mean, that's part of the reason why people like Matt Sherritt have been going on saying this is going to be difficult, because instead of us rebuilding the squad how we wanted to, we've basically been forced to offload players we probably would have wanted to keep and keep players we probably would have offloaded. Because, I mean, Cardiff, I said in a previous pod, Cardiff were looking to offload a lot of players anyway. But, you know, they were probably thinking of it's more the third, fourth choice guys they were going to offload, whereas now they've been almost promoted the first choice because we couldn't afford the other players. But the problem is I don't know, Jamie, you can call me out if you think it's unfair, but when Bernard Chapman, towards his last year at the Dragons, he basically offloaded most of the senior players to have a load of youngsters through. And they got twatted. And it looked like it set them all back several years in their development because there was no one there to help pick them up. Because you are going to have bad losses. There are going to be days where you think, yeah, just chuck this result in the bin. It's not worth thinking about. But you need the old experienced heads to have that, and you need players who can sort of say, oh no, you need to be in this, you know, you're a little bit too narrow there. Next time, step out one. You know, Max Llewellyn is the player he is because he was in, you know, he had Jared Evans one side and he had Ray Leland the other side, who sort of helped him learn where he needed to run in attack and where to stand in defence. And then we basically got forced into put Mason Grady in there, and everyone went, oh wow, this guy's big and massive and he can run lines. But he never learned the things to be in 13 that he needed to, because then you had a very young centre next to a young centre and it went wrong. And, you know, and it happens in the pack. You see it almost every time there's a pack with a load of young players, they get battered because there's not someone there who just says, right, they're doing this, let's try this. And there's no one, you know, it's the same thing of when regions want to bring in an overseas player, it's not because they don't want to develop a youngster, it's because they need someone there who knows how to do it. Because no coach is going to be able to play 1 to 15.
Yeah. No, you made a really good point.
Coaching.
You made a really good point about the Dragons then. That's exactly what Bernard did. He came in, he got rid of a load of senior players. I remember Phil Price, Salvatore, and also Brian as well. Got rid of him, and we had Ryan O'Lammon on the Dragons pod. He was frozen out. The only thing I would say, though, and I will give Bernard Chapman credit for this, to be fair, he did bring through Rio Dyer, Aaron Wainwright, and Tame Basham, and they've gone on to be Welsh internationals. So there was some light at the end of the tunnel. So there was some progress. But as you said, Dragons got twatted pretty much every week. And we were talking, 30, 40 points. We were very uncompetitive. But you could argue that we did have some Welsh internationals coming out to it. So, okay, let's take it to you then, Bill. Was this a reality check for Welsh Rugby on the weekend?
That's a difficult question. I struggle to see it for the. I think the problem is that everyone in Welsh Rugby has convinced ourselves that we're all Cardiff, and what I mean by that is we've all been like gutted and we were struggling to pull a squad together. As I've said, and I made the point a couple of times, the Osprey squad is very strong still, in my opinion, and the Scarlets as well. The team that we had out on the pitch was plenty good enough to not take 60 points. So I when you say a reality check, it's not that suggests like, oh, we found our true level, whereas I would argue that we underperformed that on those specific games, and if those are the games that we're talking about. In terms of like older players and younger players, I did a thread on Twitter the beginning of this year, about how this exodus of senior players was overdue and it was quite predictable. So I used the Ospreys as an example because they had all of the drama about Alan Wynne and Rhys Webb and things leaving. And you could say, well, if you looked at all the players that left the Ospreys, they were all like 100 cap or 75 cap plus internationals who were well over 30 years old, probably on huge money. And it was all the non-Welsh qualified players all left when there's no money for them and they had no reason to stay at the Ospreys. So it was predictable. And, it was the same for the Scarlets as well. So it happened a bit sooner, but we had at one point Lee Halfpenny, Liam Williams and Johnny McNichol on our books all at the same time. And that was madness. We never should have had that. And that has stunted the progression of someone like Tom Rogers, who should be arguably the next, is someone who people talk about as a potential for the next Wales 15. It was not where I'd play in person, but some people do say that. Mm-hmm. And I think you talk about how we have been playing young players and things. I think the problem is how we've done it in the past is we've played we've had like the starting team, which has got all the Welsh internationals in it. They play a few games and then they either get rested or they go away with Wales. And then the young players get thrown in for 2, 3, 4 games. And then the internationals come back and then they're out again. Like, again, sorry, James, picking on the Ospreys a lot. Like that game against Munster, away in Munster last year, where you started your first 2 or 3 games really strongly, and then you went away to Munster and you put the kids out, and then you came back and played at home and you put the proper team out again. And so that kids team, all they learned how to do was get battered once a month. And that's kind of, at least now, you know, if I take the Scarlets as an example, we've only got 5 or 6 players most going away to Wales at the moment. So our young team is going to be together and playing week in, week out, rather than as soon as we've got a big game coming up, whether it's a derby, a Europe game, or against one of the big boys in the URC, all the young kids are going to get ripped out and all of the 30 plus players are going to get put back in. So that's the kind of, I can see how we are going to have to do it this time. And it's kind of the bed we've ended up in through mismanagement of the squads at the regions, of top loading with too many old players. This is what, in my opinion, one of the downsides of the 60 cap rule, is that all of the region squads just ended up with really expensive, quite old internationals, and the pathways to get blocked in some cases for some players.
Okay, that's fair enough. And what about you then, James? What do you think of the sort of feeling and narrative that, well, this is a great opportunity now for youngsters. They're not getting their opportunity. You know, we can't afford to bring in big name players, but hey, the regions are going to bring in young players and I'll be fine. Never mind results. So what do you make of that?
I think it's a really, really poorly worded quote from Shanklin. I think he could have worded that a lot better. Because as Harley said, he said last year there's no players coming through. But then now he's saying us is a great opportunity. And as an Ospreys fan, I have my distinct problems with Sean Holly. And trust me, they are well founded. But I think as an Osprey, arguably in the best position to comment on the development of young players at the minute, because we have arguably one of the best coaches in Northern Hemisphere rugby at turning academy players into international players in Toby Booth. He did it at London Irish. He was involved in the development of players at Bath, because he was number 2 to Gary Gold.
Right.
He's done it at Ospreys. Okay,
Has he?
Well, he's Rhys Davis, Sam
He
Parry.
didn't go to the World Cup. Didn't go to the World Cup.
They're still Welsh internationals. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying what I was talking about is just being Welsh internationals. Is he takes young players, puts them into the starting lineup in a way that's not unhealthy, in a way that's not dropping. But the counterpoint is he did the game last season, which is arguably one of our lowest points of the season. What the only positive to come out of that Munster game was Iestyn Hopkins, who had a really, really good end to the season and has had a really unfortunate injury, and the fact that Max Nagy's decided to be good again. There is that fine line. Take Morgan Morse, for example, now, who arguably had the best performance for the under-20s at that recent whatever Mickey Mouse Championship they're calling it now. Yeah, he was fantastic. He had 7,000 Wales Online articles written about him. He's going to be the star man for the next World Cup, blah, blah, blah. All that jazz. And, you know, Osprey's Facebook saying, why aren't we playing Morgan Morse at 8 now? You know, why isn't he on the bench? Do we drip feed him onto the bench at the cost of someone like Harry Deeves, who's had a season of pro rugby under his belt now, who's developing, who's playing really well and is developing at a really good rate? Do we stunt his development to do it? It's a really nice problem to have. And you know, why are we still playing Owen Williams when, all right, Jack Welsh is Australian, but in 2 years' time qualifies for Wales, and he'll still only be very early 20s if he chooses that path.
Might be longer than that because he only came last season, didn't he? So it's 5-year residency rule now.
You've got Dan Edwards as well.
Mm.
He's with you.
He's good. Against the Dragons in pre-season, he did really struggle. But my point with Dan Edwards is really good. I'm looking at the games coming up now, and Dan Edwards is really good. Would I have him in the squad over Owen Williams and Jack Walsh? Do I feel confident enough bringing him on at 60 minutes to say, there and close out the game against Zebra? No. Is that stunting his growth? Potentially. But unfortunately, we are in a results-driven thing. I get what they're saying is we got to expose these young players, but we're still in the business. You know, we had Anthony Cole Johnson on the Ospreys Diary weeks ago, and it was a really great insight to the commercial side of it. And then,
He's great,
yeah, he's really good and really good on Twitter as well. Really worth a follow. We spoke off air about results driven into the business side of it. Unfortunately, we have to strike the balance of having players that are going to get us results over playing ones who are going to get us the results in 2-3 years' time. And Squidge Rugby champions this a lot on Twitter. It's really great having Squidge as an Ospreys fan. He is great for stuff like this.
One fault.
No, he is from Nottingham as well. He tweeted today saying, I think it's the have done incredibly well at the Ospreys. Bringing through the young players is always a specialty, blah, blah, blah. He says then the problem is they're in a cycle of needing to do this every 2 to 3 years. This should be the season now with the likes of Morgan Morris, Will Griff, Rhys Davis, Giles, Prothero, Ruben is now number 1 at 9, should be competing for top 8. But we're not, because we're rebuilding again.
Yeah, it's a fair point.
That's what I'm going to say. There's a bit of things. There has to be a balance. And unfortunately, we are in a results-driven business. And I think that balance has to shift towards results. Do I want to play 34-year-old Justin Tipuric every week? Yes, because he's Justin Tipuric, but I also want to bring through Harry Deebs, Morgan Morse.
You want me to with Jack Morgan as well, mind? Like that. I mean, to be fair, like everyone talks about Cardiff's battery, Richards, Osprey's really good. But one point I was going to say is because obviously one of the few things Cardiff have done well is made use of the Welsh Premiership. I mean, you can argue to the extent of that, and there are plenty of people who do, but you know, can win it. Basically played pretty much every game for the Rags last season, and then he comes up and he's fine. Do you think this is where not could, but what definitely needs to happen, this new Elite 8 thing, or whatever they're going to call it, this league below, this is where it has to be done right. It has to be done right because it's where we're going to give the chance to Dan Edwards, sorry.
Dan Evans?
Ackerman,
bring me back 2014-15 Dan Evans.
Yeah, if you can sort of, no, not Dan Evans, Jesus Christ. Never want to see it. Some players are just like that was a bit. I just realised that was a bit of news we missed. Matthew Morgan's retirement. Anyway,
yes, yeah.
I'm sure Cardiff Central will cover that and give him the proper.
Sure, Andy Howe will write a book about it.
But this is where that Elite 8 has to work because that's where we're going to have this. Because I feel like Scarlett started doing it with Llandovery. I saw on that Ospreys some of the sort of fringe Ospreys players were playing for Swansea. I don't know if they used Neath again properly. Yeah, I know Dragons used Newport RFC for a couple of players, but you know,
and
it is the biggest criticism that we haven't been using them as much, and you know, this season especially, we can't afford to loan out people because we need numbers for training, especially because half of us seem to already have an injury crisis, and we haven't started the season despite not playing for the best part of half a year.
Yeah. So this Elite League you're talking about now. Now, I don't know if that's the answer, but what I do know is that we need to close the gap between semi-pro rugby and URC because for so many years there's been a huge gap, and some players They can't make that step up. And that's what this elite league is about, isn't it? It's about closing the gap, making it more competitive. So when the youngsters do step into the URC, they're a little bit more battled hard and a little bit more prepared. And like I said, for many years, we don't know what the purpose of the Welsh Premiership has been. Is it to develop players? Is it for clubs winning trophies? Nobody really knows. That's why it's been constantly tinkered about with, and the gap has to close. But just go on what James is saying before we move on. With the youngsters, I mean, what I would say as a Dragons fan, I haven't seen any success. But I tell you what I do like seeing. I like seeing local boys like Real Dyer, Tane Basham, Ben Carter, Aaron Wainwright. I've seen them make their debuts at the Dragons, really develop and go on to play for Wales. And I tell you now, it's a really nice feeling, and I like that.
Yeah.
However, you are right. It is a results-based business. And my concern is if we're chucking in all these youngsters and we're relying on them, we're going to lose the hardcore because, you know, the casual fans, right? They come and go. They've got no real investment at the club. My concern is you're going to lose the hardcore supporters, the ones that turn up week in, week out. They renew their season tickets every single season. If you lose them, your hardcore support, because they're disillusioned with results on the field and they're disillusioned with Welsh Rugby and WRU, the regions are fucked. You can't lose that core of hardcore supporters. That's what really worries me. And I've seen it down at the Dragons now. Our support base now, it has shrunk because people are fed up with results. There is an apathy in Welsh Rugby at the moment. It's been lifted recently with the World Cup, the fact we've had a decent campaign. But let's be honest, before that, there was very little buzz or excitement, was there, before the World Cup about Wales? And I am concerned. That's my biggest worry, is that there'll be so much apathy because of the results when the regions are losing week in, week out, that the hardcore supporters, the ones that have been there from the beginning, 10, 15 years, 20, they'll just go, oh, bollocks to this. I'm not playing anymore because I'm fed up of seeing my team lose week in, week out. I'll go and support Swansea City instead. I'll go see Cardiff. I'll find another hobby to put my time and money in. That's my biggest concern with where Welsh Rugby is headed.
And going off your point as well, Mike Ruddock done fantastic things in Talent ID with Toby Booth. Brought back Rhys Davis, who was at Bath. Brought back Matt Prother, who was at Bristol. 2 Swansea lads. Had that core then of Swansea boys built around the likes of Morris, Griffiths, Davis, blah, 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 who really did inspire a lot in that Osprey squad. And I remember being sat at that Montpellier game last season, where there was genuinely about 4,000 of us there to watch what was arguably one of Osprey's best victories in this time period. And that was so depressing. And I remember I was sat in the Riverside and, going back to Anthony Cole Johnson, walking through, shaking people's hands, answering questions, things like that. That fan base is dwindling. We only opened one stand for the game against Cardiff. Realistically, we should only open one stand every week at the Liberty, because that fan base is dwindling. And you got then, you go onto the BBC Sport Wales news site. One of the first articles that comes up is Barbarians fixture clash is wrong, admits Walker.
But did you see what he said? He said that the derby should have been moved. That's what he said. He said we should have made the URC move the derby.
Because they booked because this is when we always have Barbarians fixture. I'm pretty sure in 2019 the Barbarians fixture was actually towards the end of November. It certainly wasn't straight after the World Cup. Because they wanted to give Pivac some time to actually see. Weirdly, they wanted them to see players play in the regions.
I thought we might win the World Cup as well back then.
Hardcore know that. Jamie's point. Hardcore know that. Casuals who read that headline, who don't necessarily go on to read the article, will just see that regions haven't got their Wales players now until end of November, essentially. And they've got to go, we've got our London game come up on the 3rd, right? Whether you agree with the London game or not is another thing entirely. We're not going to have our Wales players for it, or we're not going to have all of them. That's wrong.
Yeah.
It's a show. It's essentially an exhibition match that you can get 5 points from maximum. we can't have the way. But on the flip side, Tom Shanklin will be well happy because some young players will play him, or we'll probably get 40 put on us by the Sharks.
Because the Sharks
That's
will
what I'm
probably.
talking about.
I know.
To be fair, the Sharks
least
will be
exactly what I'm
depleted, but I
talking
don't.
The Sharks might have. All their South Africans might still be drunk from winning the World Cup. You never know. So.
And
The
and
problem
look,
is the Sharks B team was the team that actually won games, apart from against
Yeah,
Cardiff.
That
at
is
home,
true.
but
Sharks B team is better.
it is just Werner Koch running people and getting mild success from it. But yeah, such a shit situation to be in because there's no
It
right
is.
answer.
And just to say
Going
as well,
back-
just to add, sorry, go on, just to quickly say about the attendance, right? So at Rodney Parade, it was 4,212. And I thought that was pretty disappointing for the first game this season against Edinburgh. When you consider the feel-good factor that we've gone into private ownership, it's a new era for the club, unbeaten in pre-season. I did say to my dad, there was a lot of empty seats over in the Compete stand, and I said, this is pretty disappointing. It did not look like 4,212 people there to me. So they've obviously counted. I know how it works. They count the season ticket holders, whether they turn up or not, don't they? But I am concerned that attendances are going to dwindle, and I was pretty disappointed with the crowd of Rodney Parade. I'm not going to lie. I was hoping for at least 5,000, which I don't think is too much to ask. I think that's a reasonable figure to expect. But that is my other concern as well. The regions, we're going to see attendances declining and people losing interest. Right, what was you going to say, Harley, before we move on to the preview of the weekend?
I lost my point. I said the big point was that when they made this new funding agreement, one of the big things that WRU were hammering down was regions need to find ways to get bums on seats.
Yeah.
And then they take one of the derbies and they put a fixture on it. Like the WRU, they forget is they're the people who are in negotiations with the RFU, the SRU, SARU, and the Italian Union. They hammer up the calendar. So why on earth did they not fix that? Like, why did they not sort that out? And that's what Nigel Walker saying. Oh, we didn't have a calendar which said all the dates. Like, hang on, if the Barbarian, either the Barbarian fixture is something that's set in stone and you know about all the time, or you're trying to cover your own arse because you just do not actually care about the regions. And that's I think for me the big one is that it just shows that they'll say one thing saying, well, it's the regions, they need to drum up revenue. It's like, how are we supposed to do that? You're taking all our marketable players.
Yeah, it's a fair point. And it's instantly devalued the Welsh region, isn't it? And that's a disappointing thing. Spare thought for the Dragons who got to go to court to play Munster. I mean, if I wasn't tough enough, not having 7 of their players, that's going to be a slaughter. And that could be a Scarlet Bulls style scoreline.
You beat them last year.
That's the weirdest thing is, when was the last time Dragons made the lion's share of a Wales match day 23?
Yeah, that's really, we're in the upside down at this point.
Yeah,
it really is. Cardiff are a competent forwards team. Ospreys are throwing the ball around and scoring some nice tries. Dragons make up most of the Wales, and Scarlets are not entertaining. It really is upside down.
That's the world we're living in now, isn't it? Right, okay, let's move on because there is some action this weekend. So it's starting at Saturday, 1 o'clock, Ospreys versus Zebra. That game is live on BBC One Wales. Should be a good opportunity, shouldn't it, James, for the Ospreys to get back on track. Although I would say I was in Rodney's bar before the Dragons game kicked off. I watched the last half hour of Zebra Ulster, and I tell you what, they gave Ulster an almighty scare. They eventually lost 36-40, but they really did play well, Zebra. And I'm telling you now, Dragons want to watch their back. They really want to be looking over their shoulder because we've always been in a battle with Zebra to avoid finishing bottom. If the Dragons keep losing games like they did last week, don't be surprised if Zebra pick up 2 or 3 wins this season because they made some good recruitment, and I think they're going to be a much, much better team this season. So how are we feeling about this one then, James? Osprey Zebra.
I hate playing Zebra because we always play really bad against Zebra. It's probably like the team. A lot of teams will feel this. It's a bit like football where a big team will go up against a relegation candidate and expect to win, but then we'll battle to a 1-1 draw or scrape a 2-1 win. That's essentially how I feel about playing Zebra. we went out there last season with a relatively young squad and Elvis Tayoni. We won, but it wasn't convincing. We scored 4 tries, all that great. But it came down to individual bits of brilliance by Morgan Morris and Ruben Williams, and I was very scared of that zebra forward pack. They looked up for it on Saturday. They were us in the driving mall. It's still a bit soft in D. The Ulster to unlock them quite easily. Mike Lowry scoring, I think, 2. Am I confident at home? Potentially. I think after seeing the second half against Connacht, Toby Booth has a bit more of an understanding of where his form players are now. I expect to see our Lord and Saviour Rhys Henry start loose head over Garen Phillips. I will actually be hopefully in attendance at this match. I've recently moved back across the border to England, so I'll hopefully be back at the Liberty on the .com on Saturday. But I expect to see Rhys Henry. Hopefully Sam Parry is back. Because I think on top of scoring 8 million tries a season, he shows up the scrum. And I like Jonathan Easton Lewis from Saracens, formerly of Cardiff, has been a very good. Has been a very average performance-wise, but great as a squad player. He's a great third choice hooker, and I mean that in the nicest way possible to him. Great, he carries his heart out, throws decently well, and it's great to get Lewis Lloyd the exposure he needs as well, who's also the most handsome man ever graced the earth. Other than that, I think Jack Walsh will start. I think we'll see Kieran Williams and Don Morris at centre. Not to say that Owen Watkin played badly. I just think that Don Morris penetrates that line a bit better with Kieran Williams. I think Booth wants to build around Kieran Williams, and of course, Will Griffiths looks like a long-term injury, which is gutting for him.
Again,
looks like he's broken his hand. He came off against Connacht in tears, which made me cry. So I expect to see Hugh Sutton come into the second row, who I really like, by the way. I liked him at university level. I like him at this level. And then I don't know who we'll see on the bench. Maybe we'll see the ghost of Bedwin Jones, Lewis Jones on the bench. Who knows? But somewhat confident if we can shore up the scrum.
You think they might bring Ratty into as second row? Might move him as second row cover? So I know he's more of a back row nowadays, but
I think they'll keep him at 6. I think he played perfectly well at 6. I think Hugh Sutton's perfectly capable of coming into that second row, and he adds bulk.
And bench optional.
Just pretend this could be the opportunity for Morgan Morse. Come on.
Yeah, it'd be a good opportunity for him, wouldn't it, against Zebra, at home. I think that'd be pretty good.
Quietly confident, but not to be on the rooftops.
Okay, cool. Then at 3 p.m, we got Stormers versus Scarlets. It doesn't get any easier, does it, Hugh?
It really doesn't. But like I said, for anybody who thought I was being harsh at the Scarlets earlier, but we've got to put pride back in the jersey after a record scoreline being put on us in the league. It's about, no one's expecting us to win this. So I'm not going to be angry if we lose. I'm not going to be angry if we have, I don't know, 5 or 6 tries put on us. Maybe if it gets into the 30s, maybe nudging 40, I'll be like, oh, okay, this is a team that's got some back-to-back finals in the league and won one of them at home. But it can't be turnstile tackling, bonus point wrapped up in 20 minutes like it was this week just gone. We need to be in it. We need to be very close to getting a try bonus point because you do get opportunities, especially with the dry tracks down there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all about pride for us this week. We've got to show that we are a team that deserves to be playing at this level because we do. It looks like we should have been not in the URC in the performance last weekend. So yeah, it's all about pride. The result, like I said, no one's expecting us to get the win. The thing is, because of you take those reduced squads to South Africa, there's not many changes we can make. And to be honest, I wouldn't make any changes. I'd put out the same 15 again and go, make it right, boys. Make it right. Make us proud and show that you deserve to be in this jersey for the rest of the season. So that would be my challenge to the Scarlets players. Say again, mate.
Sounds like you're going to have to make two because if the rest of the Wales call-ups are having to go into camp this week, you're going to lose Plumtree and Hardy.
Is that happening before this weekend's games?
I thought they go into camp after. I thought they go into camp
after this weekend.
But Evans.
Right. Okay. Well, still, I'd try and get as close to that 15 that we had last week as possible. I don't know who we'd play at 6 now if Plumtree's gone. I have to check who we've taken out. We might end up playing a second row out of position or something like that. Or maybe McLeod will be back available or something.
Craig has played 6. I would just like to point out, I'm pretty sure he's played 6 for Gloucester.
Oh, and you've got Lousy as well, who I reckon probably do a decent job at 6.
He's our best second row. This is the thing. I don't want to be playing our best players in not their best positions. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, it's all about pride. It's all about showing, making it right.
Yeah. I think if Scarlets come away with any kind of bonus point, that would be a good result when there, whether it be a try bonus point or, a losing bonus points within 7, because that was the disappointing thing. Yeah, you got stuffed by the Bulls, but if you had a bonus point, like for me, like with the Dragons, right? If we go out there, we get stuffed, but we score 4 tries, but we get a bonus point. I'm like, well, we got something out of it, so it's not so bad. But if you come away with nothing and you get thumped, then I think it's even more disappointing, then, isn't it?
Absolutely, 100% agree with all of that.
Now, well, good luck to him anyway. So then on Sunday, we've got the big one. In my opinion, the worst derby in the league. I hate this game so much for many different reasons. Dragons versus Cardiff.
Do you want to start on it or shall I start on it? Because I think we both have the exact same apathy towards this game we just hate this game.
I'm happy to let you talk about this game because obviously I'm doing the Dragons pod this week where I'll talk about it with Gav. So Sunday 4:30. This game is live on Fire Play only. It's not on free to air, just to add. So
how the hell have they wrangled the Welsh derby not to be on free to air?
Well, it's not on S4C or BBC Wales.
Now, I don't know if there's going to be a replay of it on S4C. So what happened with Dragons Edinburgh, it was live on Fire Play only. Then on the Sunday, S4C showed a full replay of the game. So maybe there'll be a full replay later in the night. I don't know. I haven't checked. But I know that this game is live on Fire Play only. So let's bear in mind now that the Dragons, they haven't won at home for over a year. They haven't beaten Cardiff in the league since 2014. Okay? The last time they beat Cardiff was in Europe when they knocked them out of the Challenge Cup quarterfinals. And that was back in April 2015. So this is the perfect game for Cardiff to get back on track. The win's in the bag, isn't it, Harley?
You say that, but I've predicted the Dragons win because our luck's got to run out at some point against you guys. The amount of times I've said there's no way we should have won that game.
Yeah, but why would it be? Why would it be this weekend then? What makes you think that it's going to be this weekend? That the Dragons will win?
I said if we're losing, I said 2 of our key men who actually got us going well were Teddy Williams and Kieran Azarati, and they're both going up to Wales. So we're going to lose those. And then we're going to have to go. So Litterick, not Litterick. So we're going to end up having Litterick and Will Davis-King as our 2 junior, almost just out of academy props. So it's because I said the other guy, I've already forgotten his name. He's gone. He's going to be out for 3-4. He's going to be out for 4 or 5 weeks, isn't he?
He'll go to tackle school. He'll be back in a week.
Nah, that's only a luxury for England captains.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah.
So that's going to make it, and I think you guys have recruited quite well. I quite like the lad you had starting at Lucid prop for you last week. I think he's
Martinez. He's good.
I think he's going to make a meal of that. I mean, I think Tiernas De Beer is probably actually a really good signing, but I am worried that he takes a little bit too long on kicks. I've got a feeling it's not going to be the only time he gets timed out and does a foul. I don't know what it is. I've just got the feeling that Dragons have got a much more settled squad than we do. And I think overall, and I said, Alaholo and Lilo are still coming back into playing. Whether or not they want to try and and I don't know who you'd put in the centres. Until Grady comes back, I don't know who you'd change up in the centres.
What have you got?
Maybe Ben Thomas if he's fit, if he's finally fit. But I think it's true. Sorry, what was that?
Beetham's been playing there, hasn't
he? Ethan?
Beetham.
Yeah, he played like 30 minutes against the Scarlets there, but then again, he wasn't in the match day 23 at all last time out. So I don't know if that was just a sort of thing to have someone who's had a bit more of a play, because Beetham's played a bit of 10, but is primarily a 15. So I think that's Sharrett. I think he wants to have that playmaking 10-12, ideally. But I don't know. And without seeing the teams, I definitely can't. I wouldn't want to predict anything. I mean, I imagine Kerry's going to do the same thing he did last season, which is play really, really well, somehow end up in the Wales squad, and somehow become unbelievably dog shit for another 6 weeks, and then pick up again right at the end of the season when it's too late.
Yeah, but the sport is very psychological, though, isn't it? And the fact of the matter is, Cardiff have a massive psychological stranglehold on the Dragons, because they don't even have to play well, and yet they still beat them. I mean, I was at that game at Rodney Parade on Boxing Day, and how I still don't know how we lost it. Well, I do know how we lost it, actually. It was through a very dull decision at the end, which led to Jared Evans kicking to the corner and then Corey Domachowski going over. The one thing I will say about players for Cardiff, now, the one player that caused Dragons so many problems over the past 4 seasons was Jared Evans. And I am very glad that he is not involved in this fixture, because every time he played against us, he always caused us problems. We can never quite deal with him. His running and his kicking was always good against us. So that's the one positive I do have. But, I've had people saying to me this week, I put out a tweet about it, and I had Cardiff fans saying, oh, you'll beat us this year. Yeah, you'll do us this year. What they fail to realise is I've heard that every year for the past 3-4 years. And you're saying it to me tonight, and you're still not going to convince my mind that Dragons will beat Cardiff, because they never do.
I mean, I'm sure Hugh's going to say that Dragons will win, because he's predicted us to finish bottom in the Welsh Shield. So
that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen.
They'll be Dragons. I don't. I said,
no, you'll do the double over the Scarlets. You've got the hex on us, and you'll beat the Ospreys as well in the home game.
Yeah, we can't beat Cardiff. That's silly. The fact that we can beat the Ospreys, we did last season. We beat the Scarlets.
Champions, Cardiff. Just
saying. Yeah, of course, yeah. Finishing 10th, not great to say, but still, nonetheless, yeah. But we can't beat Cardiff. I mean, we got a better record in the league over Leinster than we have against Cardiff, and it's just absolutely bonkers.
What a stat
and it's
that
embarrassing. This is embarrassing.
Stat, yeah.
No, it is. I think it was 2017 we beat Leinster in the league. I'm pretty sure it was was it before that? So it was 2016. It was something like that.
Was that when Lee Jones was in charge?
Yes, and I think it was the season
was a great game.
I think it was the season when Dragons did the double over them. I mean, it was a very long time ago. We're talking now. We're obviously Leinster with the team they are now, but yeah, I'm pretty sure we have a better record over Leinster in the league than we do against Cardiff in recent times. That's how bad it is. So. Fair to say I'm not that confident. Maybe if we'd beaten Edinburgh, I think I would have been a little bit more confident. But just coming off the back of that loss, and given the record, the fact we haven't won at home for a year, I just can't see being anything other than the Cardiff win. But let's go on to predictions then. Oh, go on. What do you want to say before we go to predictions? I was just
going to say, because we're probably a bit too close to this, it being a Welsh derby. I was wondering what the opinion of the West Walians is about this game.
Whoa, now, I am not a West Walian. Garnish me with that brush.
Were you born West Walian?
Just about.
Yeah, you're
I
West
think
Walian.
this game is hateful. I honestly have nothing but awful memories of the one memory I have, and Jamie, you'll be able to back me up on this. Was I remember there was a game one year where the Rodney Parade pitch was so muddy that you couldn't tell who was on what team, and I think it was around 2013.
Yeah, I know the one you're on about.
That is the prevailing memory I have of this game, and it's probably like the one fixture or Welsh derby I try and avoid because it's the Matthew
Same.
Screech derby.
I'm just saying, I'm trying to avoid it if I can.
It is two dads like level of Welsh derby. You know, who gets custody of Matthew Screech? You know, I just can't see. I can maybe see Cardiff getting the nudge in the forwards after their performance on Saturday, but then Reece Carre is probably due a stinker, as Harley said. You know, Bradley Roberts starts looked good on Saturday, and Dragons build off that. And Kai Evans being out is a big thing because that takes away not only a long range goal kicking threat, but a good kicker out of hand. So, but then again, Cardiff have slowest centres known to man in Ray Lilo and Will Holo.
And still more attacking than either of yours.
I'll have you know, Kieran Williams can attack.
Running straight forward into the largest man he can find is not an attack.
He is essentially an XL bully. Kieran Williams is the best way to describe him. And Gatlin did everything to put him down. No, but I honestly can't see a winner in this game. If this match ended in a 12-all draw and 2 players sent off, I would not be surprised.
Okay, Pooh, what would your
that's quite similar to my prediction because I think this game is going to make history. I think this is going to make sporting history. I think this is going to be the first ever recorded match where both teams lose.
I'll be honest, I always feel like we've lost every time, even when we've won against the Dragons. I agree. It is literally the worst. It's always the worst game of rugby of the season.
Whoever wins, Rugby will be the loser.
Yes. Do you remember that bit in Dark Knight Rises where the pitch collapses? That'll be the Dragons v Cardiff on Sunday.
And it's a game that like nobody on the outside gives a toss about. You know,
what's the weather going to be like? Is it going to be hosing down? I bet it is.
I checked the weather. I think there is rain, but I don't think it's going to be all day at the moment. I checked on the Met Office this afternoon. But like for me as a neutral, I look at other derbies. I quite like watching Osprey Scarlets because I think that's a cracking derby. I like watching Leinster Munster. I like watching Glasgow Edinburgh, the 1874 Cup. Nobody gives a fuck about Dragons Cardiff on the outside. Nobody does except Cardiff fans because they know this is the only game that they can win. They can have a really shitty season, be average as hell, tread water. But hey, they beat the Dragons, so everything is okay. You know, nobody cares about this game. It drives me fucking nuts. Anyway, moving on. Moving on.
Right, so I want to get
predictions. Well, it does. I hate it. Right. Osprey Zebra predictions. Let's kick off for you then, James. What are you saying?
I am going to go 31-23 to the Ospreys.
Just say by 10 or by 15 or whatever.
That's
how we do it.
Ospreys by 9. Maths isn't my strong point, but I'm just going to say Ospreys by 9.
Okay. Hugh?
The Ospreys won't have Nicky Smith to come back and win the game on his own like they normally do against Zebra. I'm going Ospreys by 1 in one of the worst games you've ever seen.
It's Henry hat-trick, though, yeah?
Yeah, but miss all the conversions, so it'll be 15-14.
Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that.
Okay, then. So, Harley, what are you saying then? Ospreys, Zebra.
I'm being very optimistic. I'm going to go with Ospreys by 6. But it's going to be very high. I reckon it's going to be a very high-scoring game. So I think Ospreys will win by 6 purely because they'll be a point behind and somehow accidentally fall over the try line when they're setting up for a drop goal.
Yeah.
Balls over the length.
Reece Henry's taking the drop goal.
Hits the crossbar
Osprey
back in
should
his
win.
hands and he falls down.
Yeah.
Osprey should win this game, but I got a feeling it's not going to be a blowout. I think they'll be quite scrappy, and I don't know why I think that, because I was thinking about what you were saying earlier, James, of Ospreys. They're never fully convinced against Zebra, are they, for whatever reason. But I do think it's a game they will win. It's a game they should win, quite frankly. But they don't want to underestimate them, mate, after that Ulster performance. But I'm going to go Ospreys by 6. Yeah, let's go Ospreys by 6. Then we got Storm of Scarlets. Come on in, Hugh. What are you saying for this one? Stormers by how many? 40, 50?
No. I'm going to have to go Stormers by... I'm going to copy James. Stormers by 9.
If Lee was here now, he'd say Scarlets by 6. He'd say something silly along those lines.
Do you want Lee's predictions for this? Because I've got the sheet up.
Oh yeah, please do read them all out.
on.
Let's hear
So
it.
Lee has gone for Ospreys by 5,
Okay.
Stormers by
Alright.
15, and Dragons by 7.
Dragons by 7.
So I'm more optimistic than Lee then. That's unusual.
Yeah.
It's true. Right. Okay then. So what do you reckon, Ollie? Stormers, Scarlets.
I'm going Stormers by 25, which would be a huge improvement.
Can I just ask you, logging these scores down? Have you got the sheet in front of you? Or
Yeah, I'm logging what people have written.
right? Okay, because I was writing them down. I don't need to know. Okay, cool. James, Stormers by how many?
I am going to go Stormers by 30 with Scarlet red card.
No, come on. That's not a prediction. Who's going to get red carded?
Oh, fine. It's going to be Johnny fighting. That's where I'm going to go. He's going to snap and punch someone.
See, if Johnny McNichol gets red carded, I think it's going to be taking someone out in the air. Like in a horrendous, he was never
A
getting
Dan
to it.
Evans thing.
Oh,
Yeah,
Dan
put it in
Evans
the
gets
face.
rassing.
Or kick someone in the face and then wonders like, why did I get sent off as kicking someone in the face? That's ridiculous. One of those stupid arguments. I hate rugby.
I actually think Scarlets are going to be much better this week than they were last week. I'm not saying they're going to win. Of course, they're not going to win, but I think they're going to be much better. So I'm going to go Stormers by 14. And I think I'm being
14.
very optimistic. No, I went.
That would have been
14.
great comedic timing.
No, I think the Scouts are going to respond. I do. I think they're going to put a much better performance. I got a feeling, but like I said, that won't be enough.
Welsh team, I will say this because Cardiff obviously historically beat the Sharks. I remember
No, I'm
Ospreys
denying that
last...
ever happened.
Okay, right. They might have beaten the Sharks. Ospreys came really close. Well, not really close, but put in a trade bonus point performance against the Bull. No, against one of them last year with
I think it was the
scratch
Bulls.
team.
I think it was the
I think it
Bulls.
might have been the Bulls against a scratch team. Dragons might have, I think who they put in a half decent performance last
The
year.
Dragons are the only team ever to lose to the Southern Kings.
That's true.
Ospreys have as well. We lost at home
sorry.
to the Southern Kings. That was
I think Ulster did as well. I'm sure Ulster did as well.
That was the low point.
Big
That was
league.
what got Alan Clark sacked, I'm pretty sure, if we're going to go down that route.
That's a forgettable human being, isn't it?
MLR legend Alan Clark.
I felt sorry for him at the Ospreys. I don't know why. I thought he had a bit of a shit time of it down there, didn't he? Because that was the change that was all happening down there, wasn't it? It was all the merger stuff going on, and he didn't have a particularly good squad at the time. I always felt a bit sorry for Alan Clark, but
We lost to the Kings.
Right.
It can't get
yeah,
much worse.
as the Dragons. That's not a surprise, obviously, but still, you're in company there. Ali, you're back with us now. So, Storm of Scarlets. Did I ask you the prediction for this or not?
Yeah,
don't think I did. did I?
I said Stormers by 25.
Oh, I did. Sorry, yeah. Okay, here we go then. The big one, Dragons Cardiff. Let's start with you then, Hugh. Who are you picking for this one?
God, I said both teams would lose, didn't I? Not sure how I put
You
that into
did.
the scoreline.
Draw?
I mean, a draw is
You think
basically
that's like-
both teams not
Yeah.
winning.
I'm going. Honestly, like I can see it being 9-6 or something. I don't know. I'll go for a draw. Say a draw. I don't have to give a scoreline, do I? Draw.
Draw. Okay. James?
I am gonna. It's to really wind up Jamie. But Dragons by 9. But it could well be like
it's just funny. It's just funny.
9-0. Ryan kicked 3 penalties, all in the first 20 minutes, and nothing happened after that.
Which I would take. I would take a 3-0 win over Cardiff if it meant we finally beat them. And it was the shittiest fucking game you've ever seen in your life. I would happily take it. I would have no complaints at all. Come on then, Ali. Let's have it. Dragons.
I alluded earlier. I said Dragons by 3. So I don't know why. I've got a feeling you're going to be the only one of us who picks Cardiff.
I'm going to go Cardiff by 6. For the reasons I've already mentioned. Psychological, poor record of Ronnie Craig. Haven't won it for a year. Sorry?
I said, I'm sure it's always been like 1 or 2 points. Like I don't think we've ever convincingly beaten you that.
At the Arms Park, the games are more weighted in Cardiff's favour. I mean, we have taken a few batterings at the Arms Park, but at Rodney Parade, it generally tends to be tighter. But we tend to lose by about. Parade. It is a Rodney Parade, but Cardiff keep winning it, don't they? They have a good record against the Dragons. They have a good record at Rodney Parade. So I would love to be proven wrong. Of course I would. But every year I have Cardiff fans telling me, yeah, they'll do it this year and you'll beat us this year. And it never happens. And for me, I need to see it to believe it. If we'd beaten Edinburgh, mind, I would have been a lot more probably upbeat. I probably would have said Dragons by 2 or 3. But I think that loss against Edinburgh was taking the wind out of our sails a little bit. And we need to respond. There is talk, by the way, of Leon Brown returning for this game. Because he should have played last week against Edinburgh, for some reason didn't. But I knew as soon as he got called up to the Wales squad, I knew we'd wrap him in cotton wool. And I don't know if that's coming from Wales or whether that's a decision that Dave Flanagan has made. But we'll see on that one.
What you're saying is we could see a battle of the anti-props in Rhys Carey and Leon Brown. Who could put in the bigger stinker? Who can damage their Wales career anymore?
Just remember who had Osprey scrum on toast a couple of weeks ago. And they had to wait until he went off before they put Rhys Henry
12-year-old Garen Phillips.
They were too scared to put Rhys Henry on against. Hang on, he wouldn't be scrummaging against Garen Phillips. He's a loose end.
Sorry, right? He
was against Tom Botha.
No, Tom Botha was ill.
No, he had to pull out, didn't he? So yeah,
Rhys
Henry at the tight end.
Oh, it wouldn't have
Rhys
been
Henry started that game.
Can I just say, with the whole thing with Rhys Carey not being bombed out of the Wales squad because of his fitness, he must look at Oxen Shea boasting about how much cake he eats and be like,
"Well, him
bastard,
crying into his steak bake."
Yeah, he's looking at his like avocado on toast and like noodle soup, and he's like, "What happened here? What happened here?" He's looking in the mirror, and he's like, "If you squint, I look like Stephen Kitsoff."
Hey, he played better than Stephen Kitsoff in that game against Stormers. A game where somehow Dylan Lewis got the better of him, and I still don't know how that happened.
Dylan Lewis. Oh, we were talking about Leon Brown on our Dragons pod, right? And I said that he has got so much potential, but he's never quite fulfilled in us for a number of reasons, injuries being one of them. Gatland loves Leon Brown. But what really annoys me is that Leon Brown gets injured. When he makes a return to fitness, he gets called up to Wales camp. Then he comes back from Wales, he gets injured for us, he's out for ages. Wales come calling, he gets called up to Wales, and we don't see him. Like, I've seen a lot of supporters this week saying about Leon Brown, well, why are we paying him? Like, they're saying that maybe we should get rid of him. And I've never once thought that, but I have to be honest, we are not getting value for money out of Leon Brown at the moment. And he's out the contract.
Got a player like that.
He's out the contract, mate, this season. So I'm going to be really interested to see what happens here, because I got a feeling, right? If you said to a lot of Dragon supporters, about losing Leon Brown, I think they'd be like, well, okay, because we don't see him anyway. I generally think they would. I don't think there'd be a huge outcry or disappointment from supporters. But I really like Leon Brown. I'm a big fan. I think he has so much potential. He's really explosive ball carrying and loose. I think his scrummaging has improved. Yes, it is a work in progress, of course it is. But that's Welsh props across the board, mine, isn't it? Why can't we in Wales produce a proper scrummaging prop? We always seem to produce props who are really good in the loose, really good ball carriers, good jacklers, but they can't scrummage. That's a Welsh rugby issue. And I don't know whether that's down to coaching or pathways or something else. I don't know. But we seem to have a lot of props like that, don't we? I don't know.
I think a big part is the age that props typically come of age as well. Like we're always expecting the next big thing to come out straight out of the under-20s when really they need that time to develop and get used to.
When was the last time a prop came through at 19 and set the international world on
Celia
fire?
Tuifiloto.
But she's an anomaly.
Yeah, but you forget
That's
she's
true.
she's just a straight up type 5 forward. I reckon she'll play anywhere in the type 5 and probably back row if you asked her to. Heck, give her a go at
12.
Yeah.
On the
speaking of
League
Liam
of
Brown
Nations,
as that sort of play, because it's a serious point because obviously, we've already had big, some of us have had big goals or we've had to some people are lucky to offload players nearing retirement or, are looking for their retirement payday. But we are going to be cutting another £700,000, which could be 2 Lions, basically based on the old pay banding, which is like £350,000 about a Lions player. But realistically, I think we've probably cut as many of those as we've got. Like I think Cardiff probably lose Adams and Balaton, and that might be just about us. But I mean, it's a big thing. I mean, I'm still surprised the Dragons kept faith with Ollie Griffiths.
Yeah, same.
Because
I said this on the Ospreys pod.
He is just too. I made the jokes about McLeod basically being made of glass, but Ollie Griffiths is a different level of that.
He was good last week, mate. He was good against Edinburgh. He was one of our best players on this 100th appearance.
He's always one of the best players for the Dragons when he's on the field. It's getting him on the field enough.
Yes, I agree. We are very loyal to a lot of players. You can say about Ashton Hewitt, for example. We do have a cluster of injury-prone players, but you're talking about letting players go. I'd say the Dragons fans now make the most of Bertrand because he will be gone. Because if the budgets are coming down to 4.5,
he'll be in the Prem next year. Absolutely.
I think he had
if not top 14.
Decent. I didn't think he was brilliant at the World Cup. I thought he was decent. But if we're trimming the wage bill down, and don't forget, we got Rodri Williams, we got Dave Blacker. I'm not counting Lewis Jones, obviously. So he's going to have to go. I think a lot of regions are going to have to make some difficult decisions.
I'm so convinced we're paying youth to have him.
No, you're doing that with Screech at the moment.
Can I just say, all the Ospreys, in classic Ospreys fashion, haven't named a club captain yet.
Really?
But the other 3, I'm pretty sure we haven't named a club captain. Because I think they're waiting for Jack Morgan to come back. Is my
that's a fair shout. I probably wouldn't use Jack Morgan as your club captain though.
No, I'd use
not because of him, but because he's being away with Wales.
Tips to be better.
What's worrying is that 3 club captains that have been chosen rarely play for their clubs for injury reasons. Griffiths is a captain, am I right, for Dragons? Okay.
No, Steph Hughes is our captain.
Steph Hughes, and he's pretty solid, to be fair.
Well, being as making his mind. Josh McLeod doesn't play. I was going to call him the Spanish Steve Tandy. And Josh Turnbull didn't play on Saturday. Is injured.
To be fair, I'd say that's more the exception than the rule because he was up for that Iron Man award that normally only ever goes to Matthew Screech for most minutes played in the URC. But he does play. It is a freak thing for it. But I'm surprised they went out and straight up named Turnbull as captain.
It was a weird one for
talking
me.
Cardiff people were thinking it might be someone like Alex Mann who's probably going to be getting a lot more game time now.
Yeah, that was just an observation I made.
No, that's fair.
No, I had that exact same thought, to be honest. But I mean, I thought Tipuric was your club captain still, but no, it went to Reece Webb, didn't it? Before they couldn't wait to offload him to a friend.
Well, we had to fund the steroid habit, didn't we? Allegedly. So
put the allegedly in there because we don't want to get in trouble in this podcast. Right, I think we should wrap it up there, gents, because time is against us. Thank you very much, James, Harley, and Hugh. Great to speak to you tonight. It was a pretty good pod. We Covered a lot of topics there. Don't forget, you can follow us on Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter. We are available on iTunes. Lee never says this, but please leave us a review. If you're on iTunes or Spotify, subscribe, leave us a review because it really does help. And Lee should be saying that more often. But I'm going to say it now. We're on YouTube, so subscribe there as well. Thank you, Hugh, for reminding me.
Subscribe there, leave comments. I'd love to know about how I'm too political.
Yeah,
any
leave comments
like
and then we'll argue with you.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks again, gents. Thanks again. It's been
All right,
brilliant.
thanks, boys.
All right, take care. Ta-ra now. Good night.